Hornets choosing not to use a timeout. Down by 3. Brandon! Yahoo! He got it! Humpedly deep! We're tied!
That's the sound you make when you're about ready to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road and you're the Charlotte goddamn Hornets. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We come to you, 3 broken, humbled individuals. I am Rob Rozycki. We have Eli Moon. We have AA Anthony Alford. We have a shit Browns team to talk about. We have a shit Cavs team to talk about. We have a coach who started a Tuesday out, employed and very rich, and ended the day in a holding cell. We have college football playoffs. We have a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Oh, yeah, by the way, the Chiefs are dead. They are no longer in playoff contention. We will some of us will talk about it. Somebody else will gloat about that. But we have a whole lot going on. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Again, Rob Rozycki, Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. How are we doing, gentlemen?
We're doing pretty good. For the most part.
Yeah, that wasn't convincing at all, bro.
Here's the thing. I like to think of the positives. So, positive number 1. I had some crazy good spaghetti last night over at our guy Kyle, Inside Edge Talent, Side Hustle, Kyle Cornell. Crazy good spaghetti, and I got to watch some wrestling. And that is about as high as the weekend got for me. And it was all downhill after that. Yeah. AA, how are you doing?
My Sunday was great. My Sunday was great. Boy got a phone number today. It was a great day. So from that standpoint was fine. Grocery shopping, because I had to do it. Look, it's been 10 degrees outside for this entire week.
Frozen hellscape.
Yeah, miserable snow.
Yep.
Here in Bedford, we don't believe in putting salt down on our roads. So it was really touch and go whether or not I was going to make it here to do the show today. But I had to get some kind of groceries so I wouldn't rely on DoorDash because, man, your wallet runs up when you have to do DoorDash. So you got to get the grocery shopping in. So have frozen fingers, did that today. And then, of course, sports happened too. So how about that?
What was the best thing you got from the grocery store?
Well, I got my family supply of chicken wings. Okay. Which throughout the week I will be air frying the chicken wings. Typically, my basic meal for the week are typically air fried chicken wings, the $1 rice, which for me, and it's just me, it lasts the whole week, and I get a $1 bag of green beans. And again, I do my main cooking probably on Mondays, and that usually will stretch pretty good until Friday.
Word.
We have a little bit different situation over here. I have basically an appetizer sampler at all times in my in my freezer, ready to go. Mod sticks, onion rings, waffle fries. We have some cheese curds, I think, laying around. Boneless chicken also too. A lot of just general crap. And then we're loaded up here. But no, around these parts, we have had some drama trying to install a washing machine. So. The next time I talk to you guys, I will be bougie rich. I'll be able to do laundry on premises. I haven't been able to do that since I want to say Barack Obama's first term. So that's going to be kind of cool.
Dude, you're gonna fully appreciate that. I wish I could do laundry at my place. I mean, we have a machine, but it doesn't dry.
This could be one of those combo things. It's like the same, like you don't have to change the stuff over. So this is like doing laundry in the 23rd century here. This is going to be like Jetson shit. So, yeah, we're cool. But the other development too, and we do have to talk about next week's show a little bit, maybe on or off air. I have been informed that I will be attending the ballet next Sunday, Swan Lake. So we're going to have we're either going to have to adjust the deal of the show, or the inmates are going to have to run the asylum for a week. We got to figure that one out.
I love how you were. This is not even a discussion of maybe I have to go to this. This is you have to go to this.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, well, there's a number of reasons. First and foremost, Nikki, my ever patient girlfriend, my other half here, she has been cool with me blowing out pretty much every Sunday night for the last couple of months doing the show. So I think one time she put her foot down. I think that's kind of what happened. And we have the whole holiday thing and, Christmassy and deck the halls. We see all the presents and stuff over there and stuff. So, yeah.
Do you guys do anything fun? You two, Eli, in your communities, like, do you guys have, like, any Christmas lighting or something like, anything? I heard in our town, because my boss of this Inside Edge, that Peter Tulloch, they do the Bedford tree lighting here, but I'm very unaware of Bedford community events. And you guys do anything special at your local hometowns?
I know that not for Christmas. I don't think anything crazy in Parma. But I do know, as I'm like looking outside for like the answers, but like I do know they're doing a pierogi, like how like they do like in New York the ball dropping. They're doing a pierogi drop at one of the establishments out here, and they're gonna have a pierogi lower as it gets to midnight.
That's on brand. That's on brand. I like that.
That's what's going on. I won't be there, but yeah. That's what we got going on.
Do out in Menor. Honestly, this is kind of my first year out here, and like AA, I'm really not abreast of company or of community events. I do know in my previous neighborhood in Cleveland, the homeless guys used to shoot bottle rockets off at midnight on Christmas Eve. So I think that was kind of the closest thing we got to that on East 97 or West 97th Street. But I don't know what. I'm sure there's something out here in Menor. It's delightfully suburban, Desperate Housewives-y, that kind of thing. So I'm sure there is, and I'm sure it's probably already happened, some sort of light or whatever ceremony happening, but I don't know.
We do have a comment on the StreamYard real quick. Somebody said air fried Hot Pockets.
Okay, I can see where that's going. I can see that.
Not bad. Not bad. Not all Hot Pockets are created equal. I just want to put that out there.
No, that's one you got to really kind of do the on-brand kind of thing. Yeah. See what I've been doing too. We got some pizza rolls hanging around here. You take the pizza rolls, throw them in the air fryer, and crisp them all up, and then you get you a little bowl like a decent sized bowl. Put some garlic butter, garlic sauce in there. Toss those sons of bitches in there, and you got like garlic soaked pizza rolls. And yeah, you're doing pretty good. Now, if you have a heart problem, I'd stay away from that. I wouldn't take anybody's idea. Now, this is we did. This is a sports show after all. This is the Inside Edge Podcasting Network main event here. Do you think we've dicked around long enough to avoid talking about the Cavaliers' 119-111 loss to the Hornets, or do you want to talk about the Browns first, or do you want to talk about Julian Saint finishing fourth, or what? I mean, John Carroll won. I think that might be about the best we got going.
Can we lead with that? Can we lead with John Carroll football?
If I knew anything other than the fact that they won and they're going to be in the semifinals of the Division III championship, I'd say no problem, but I couldn't tell you anything else.
I have nothing. All right, let's go, Cavs. Let's go.
All right, well, the Cavaliers, they lost 119-111 to the Charlotte Hornets. That was 2 days after a 4-point victory over the Wizards of Washington, one of the few teams that are actually worse than the Hornets. Hornets are 8-11. The Wizards came in at 3-19 to that contest with the Cavaliers. Ended up coming out 3-20. Donovan Mitchell, he had a 48-point game 2 days ago. That's kind of what saved the Cavaliers. 24 points in the fourth quarter. This time that did not happen. Donovan Mitchell did not, I don't think, broke 25 points. A very uninspired effort that did go into overtime. Just nobody told the Cavaliers. They started overtime with 111. They finished overtime with 111, and they missed all 10 of their shots during the extra period. I got a feeling what the first answer is going to be, guys, but do the Cavaliers have a problem, or is this just still growing pains to figure shit out for the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's funny that we were talking about this like a week ago and saying, well, it's still early on, and we're a few games past that. Now we're kind of
27.
Yeah, but it's only a few games past what we talked about a week ago when we talked about should we panic. That's what my point is. And ultimately, I mean, I said it last week, standing wise, there's no reason to panic because they could jump right up, but they just aren't. They don't have any movement on offense. They don't have any spark on the second unit, and ultimately, I know they got have had injuries and they've been injury ridden at points this season, but I don't know really where the team was the last year and the year before that. I get they lost Ty Jerome in the offseason. They've had some guys, like I said, the injuries, but it just doesn't make sense. And it goes scoreless in overtime. And Donovan's talked about it. I know he had 17 tonight, but he's talked about it where this team lacks energy on defense. The Cavs shoot poor from three, and it's going to come back to bite them against teams like the Charlotte Hornets, and that's what happened today.
Well, I think the big thing, too, there's a ton of angles to go about this, but you look at all the games the Cavs have lost, and you look at how many points bad teams score against the Cavs. Bad teams score against the Cavs, and that is overly concerning for a roster that, and we talked about on this show last week, they have to win. Like this roster, with all the restrictions against it, with the second apron.
It's win now. It's win now, yeah.
Yeah, you have to win now. And the thing that's scary is that if you look at the top contenders across the board in the NBA, OKC, you look at, any other top contenders, defensively, they got things on lock. They can make defensive stops. And when you add the fact that offensively there is no flow, offensively it's let's figure out who has the hot hand. And if it's not Donovan Mitchell, or every once in a blue moon it's not Darius Garland, good luck. This is what you get. And because you've been stagnant in playoff progress, you're going to have other teams, maybe the Detroit Pistons, pass you by. And we're going to have a tough conversation in the month of May if this doesn't improve. And it has to, and it's the look that they look like trash against bad teams. This is not good. This is not a good situation right now, Rob. It's just
you mentioned the offense, and what these guys don't do is cut. What they don't do is move without the ball. And I understand they had a lot of 3-point opportunities last year. They made a lot of 3-point opportunities last year, but they were different. They were in rhythm. They were because of ball movement. They were because they were making the extra pass. Right now, these are the kind of 3-point attempts that you settle for, that you take early in the shot clock, that are dumb possessions. And the record, I believe it's 39 or more threes that the Cavaliers shoot, regardless of if they make them or not. The Cavaliers are, I think they have 4 wins. I think they're like 4-7 in those. I might be a win or two off on that one, but I mean, it is a woefully low percentage when they attempt all these threes, when they miss all these threes, especially too. We kind of see what happened tonight. And on the defensive side of the ball, the energy's not there. The energy's not moving around. This is now year 2 post JB and his defensive stylings and his defensive philosophies. I wonder if we're now seeing a little bit of the weaknesses in Kenny Atkinson's coaching game when it comes down to scheming defense. But again, the lackadaisical effort, the quicksand feet, that's not an Atkinson problem. That's a player problem. So, yeah, I mean, the Cavaliers are just kind of in a spot right now. What do you got, Double? I was going to ask a question here. But yeah,
how the hell do you not score a single point in overtime? How do you score? How do you go scoreless in overtime?
You miss all your shots. You miss all your shots.
What are they doing?
0 for 10.
What are they doing?
And that's what it is when they're taking all these threes and they're not hot like that. When they are cold from the floor, there's no way to get out of it. There's no way to kind of just claw their way out of it. By the way, too, I know we're talking basketball, but Micah Parsons is leaving the Broncos and Packers game, it looks like, with a knee injury. He was rushing the quarterback. He is basically being helped off by training staff right now into the locker room. We'll get more on the football in the second break here. But, Yeah, this Cavalier team is lost right now, and I don't know. And I guess the question is, and I guess this is probably a good analog of should we panic, should we not panic? Is this fixable with the 15 guys they have under contract right now? Or do they need to change this up? Do they need to bring in somebody else in? Can they fix this as constructed? Part of me thinks they can because, again, minus Ty Jerome and a couple of bit pieces, this is basically the team that won, 55, 60 games last year. So, part of me thinks it's possible, but I haven't seen any evidence of that in the first 27 games.
Yeah, I mean, I remember us, having conversations earlier on in the season. I know we never really brought it to light, but talking about making some moves in the backcourt, I'm not one to shy away from saying, looking at potential Darius Garland trade options. And I was saying this before, right when he came back, Darius Garland trade options are not the worst thing. The problem is he has no value. You should have looked, if the Cavs were going to look at making a move and involving one of the four, big, core four of this team, they should have looked last year. And unfortunately, they were winning, they had, not unfortunately, but unfortunately they were winning, so they weren't going to make any move. But Darius Garland, I just don't feel like is the right backcourt guy. He's had too much inconsistent play, and he went 0 for 11 from 3 the other night against Washington. We're talking about bad teams and playing poorly against bad teams. They won by 4. But personally, something's got to shake up in the backcourt. I get he had a good game tonight, but at the end of the day, it's too much inconsistency and leaning on Donovan. And then when we get to postseason time, it's kind of the same story. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. Obviously, Mobley being out right now, they're going to have front court issues they're going to have to address as well. But I don't know. Me personally, I just don't feel like Darius Garland is the right fit right now, backcourt-wise, with Donovan. And that's what I would explore.
The problem is that they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with the second apron restrictions they do have. If you want to move Garland, which I am not opposed to, I think I'm a little warmer on that than I was a couple of weeks ago. If you do want to move him, it's got to be a 1-for-1 kind of deal. And the list of guys that can come in under those circumstances, is that going to necessarily be any better than Darius Garland? Is it are we thinking like a Tyler Hero or somebody from Miami? Or, I'd have to look at contracts and see kind of what works out money-wise. But the Cavaliers might be a little screwed when it comes down to, the opportunity to make a move.
Yeah, but ultimately, and I know you have something to say here, Double A, but ultimately the question is, can they figure it out with this 15-man roster? And I personally, right now, they have not shown that they can, because, I mean, I guess it's ultimately, we have to look at, we say it was just Ty Jerome in the offseason, but let's not forget, him and Donovan were very close from college, playing ball, not playing ball at college together, but, growing up essentially together, him and Ty Jerome, they were close. So having that connection and then losing that, not only losing the spark off the bench and a guy who can slot in as a starter, but it seems like that must have been a pretty big move for the Cavs. And now with having, Merrill miss time at certain points of the season and these guys miss points of the year, you're feeling that a little bit more. So I think right now, this 15-man roster isn't the same. We keep saying it's essentially the same, but it's really not. It's like light years difference from where it was last year.
I think right now, what's going to save the Cavs in the short term, they have too much talent to miss the playoffs, right? Right now,
in its Eastern Conference.
Exactly. In this Eastern Conference, there's just too much talent for them to miss the playoffs. And in this NBA, if somebody on your team gets hot, whether it is Donovan Mitchell on a consistent stretch, anybody, even Darius Garland, if they get hot, you can roll off 5, 6, 7 out of 8 games.
If you have a 7-game winning streak, you are all of a sudden a comfortable top 4 playoff team in the East. That's how close everything is. Right?
Exactly. You're spot on there. So this team is talented enough where they could do that. Plus, again, with the Eastern, I'll tell you right now, this is the first time all year, by the way, that I pulled up NBA standings. This is December 14th. I think it's fair. I can pull it up. Cavs right now, they're the 8th seed, so they will be in the play-in.
Yeah.
But the cutoff of the play-in, Chicago, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Indiana, and Washington.
Of course.
Chicago, they're 10-14. So basically, even with the play-in, Milwaukee, they're the 10th seed. They're 11-15. So if the offense can somehow get going, the schedule works out, things like that, you can roll off a good stretch. The painful thing is, when is that going to happen, number one? And number two, and most importantly, it doesn't matter if the Cavaliers are a 2nd seed, 3rd seed, 7th seed, doesn't matter. Are they going to be ready to go in May? That's the toughest part. And that's what we talk about even with teams like the Buffalo Bills and some of the other teams that have had great regular season success but have fallen short in the playoffs, and they have to roll it back with the same roster. You really can't do anything. I mean, we're mentioning Tyler Hero. We're mentioning, Giannis having that conversation. If it has to be a 1-for-1 with a player, you're almost trading 1-for-1, not just with a player, but a playoff spot. And really, it doesn't make sense for any of these teams to make any of those moves because you're not really going to jump up in the regular season standings. So they have to win games like today. That's the toughest part.
I think, I think on some level, the only move, and we talked about it on my other job yesterday on 1100, a lot of people wanted Giannis. And I was trying to tell them, was like, with the restrictions, that's going to be very, very tough. But if you're going to do anything at this point to this roster, it's going to have to be a big deal. It's going to have to be something that's going to shape this thing, that is going to see somebody in the core 4 leave town and figure out how to live life in Milwaukee. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to have to be somebody. I really can't really talk right now with the fact that we're living in this urban hellscape of Cleveland. But, yeah, it's going to have to be a big deal. So, I don't know. I think it could be fixable with the guys they have again. You say it's a very doable Eastern Conference. As long as they get in the top 6, honestly, I'll be happy. I don't want to deal with play-in tournament shit. But as long as they're in the top 6, which is still very doable, they can fix this up. Now, is it going to be a good enough fix-them-up job where they can get all the way into the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals? Because I think the Eastern Conference is very winnable if you're one of about 6 teams, and the Cavaliers are one of them. So we'll see if that's going to actually happen. Now,
do we feel good if we had to play a 7-game series against Detroit? Do we feel good about that?
No, probably not. I mean, I'm honestly, Detroit's very. You brought them up earlier, Double A. They're very, very on the rise. I mean, and it's crazy because they remind me of a Cavs team where they had nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? Like a few years ago when this Cavs really kind of started gelling with Mobley, Garland, and everybody. That's what they remind me of. Cade Cunningham leading the way. They got Jalen Duren there. They got a lot of guys that are, Jaden Ivey coming back. They're a dangerous team. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, what are we talking about the Cavs getting it right? Are we talking about the Cavs getting it right for a top 6 playoff spot and avoiding the play-in? Are we talking about them getting further than they did last year? Because I think they're further off than when we began the season in terms of my confidence of them getting further than they did last year, which is actually, makes me nervous because as a Cavs fan, heading into this year, you had no Jason Tatum for Boston. They're still hanging around. You had no Tyrese Halliburton for Indiana. Indiana's not very good, but long season. But regardless, we keep touching on no star power for the most part in the Eastern Conference. This is supposed to be the Cavs rolling to further than they got last year. And I just don't know right now with this roster if they can do that.
Let me answer that for you. We're screwed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we could be.
We're screwed. No. Because and this is not on Eli. This is a real thing. If OKC and Detroit are the 2 standard barriers of the NBA, young teams, they got stars to build around, but a young team, none of them are getting paid right now. So they're going to keep building from that standpoint of winning a championship. If our roster's not good enough to beat Detroit and Oklahoma City, we're screwed. We're screwed. That's it. I mean, and that's unless this offense that we paid a lot of money for, because we've maxed out on roster payout.
I think we have the most expensive roster in the league right now. I think that's where I remember reading something like that before the season started. So yeah, I mean, it is a bloated team when it comes down to that stuff. And I think to your point of screwed or not screwed, I was asking, is this fixable or do they need to make a move? I think the question is can they make a move? They might want to do something. They might understand the fact that they have to do something, but they cannot do something. So,
and I think that's something that will, like, take Milwaukee, for example. And I don't know if they're going to trade Giannis at all, but I think they will. And they'll trade him to somebody. It may not be us, but they should trade him to somebody. I think if you are, and I always say this about the NBA, but I think it's really true now. If you're in that middle class of the NBA, if you're not in a position to win a title, but you have a star player, you're at a point right now, especially Milwaukee, you need to rip it down. You need to rip it down because you're going to be further and further away from Oklahoma City, further and further away from Detroit, or even some of those teams that are missing, Boston, the guys that Eli was talking about.
Don't count out Denver, too, for going all NBA, dude. I think Denver has just as good of a chance right now to beat OKC as anybody.
Exactly. So I don't think Milwaukee should be selfish in saying, hey, if we want to contend for a title, we need to hold on to Giannis no matter what. I think Milwaukee has to make a choice. Do they look at Giannis and say, Giannis means just as much to us as Kobe Bryant did with the Lakers during his latter years? The Lakers said, we're not going to contend for a title those last couple of years with Kobe. As long as we have Kobe Bryant on our roster, we can sell tickets.
The difference is that you're talking about a 35-year-old Kobe Bryant compared to a 30-year-old Giannis. He is not in his final couple years.
Right. So Milwaukee, I know what Giannis wants to do.
Win.
Is Milwaukee on that same page?
Well, I mean, and I think I don't know if I see this happening in this season. I could see it happening next year or in the off season following, the finals this year. But Giannis is eventually going to move. And I think that to answer your question, Double A, is he a tradable commodity or is he the lifeblood of a franchise? It's been 50 years, but Milwaukee has a little bit of a history trading a Hall of Fame NBA big man to a coastal team. I'm talking about Kareem. But or is he that lifeblood guy? The question, the way that's going to be answered is what can they get for him? If it is one of these 6 first-round picks, a young prospect, and 2 guys who are going to be playable for a year or 2, then they might be see you later. But if it's going to be a return that a Luka Doncic return, then people are going to be probably not. I mean that's going to be the question. And his contract does have 2 more. I think he has this year guaranteed, and then he has a team option next year. So, or he'll be able to opt out, I think, after next year. So he has about a year plus on the contract. So that's going to have to be something to be considered if he does move. Is whatever team is taking him on, they better be under a understanding that the contract's going to get signed pretty quick for an extension. So there's a lot of layers to this, which is why I don't see it happening in season. I can see it being a little bit closer to actually like a Kevin Durant 7-team, 6-team fiasco trade where somehow a third of the league changes rosters. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But a lot of these teams are going to have to ask. Denver's going to be in that spot in a couple of years with Jokic. There's going to be some, because the Thunder, the Pistons, that's kind of the way the rosters are built now. That's kind of the future of the league. And the problem is that the Thunder have everybody under contract and a shit ton of picks. So I don't know if they're going to be going. And that might be the whole bigger thing to this too, is it's all a moot point. Do you honestly think you're going to be able to get through Oklahoma City and win a title this year? Or if it's not Oklahoma City, it's going to be Jokic. Or if it's not Jokic, it's going to be Wembayama. What the fuck are we doing here?
Oklahoma City would be the most talked about team in sports history if they were in Los Angeles. if they were,
even
if
Chicago
Steph Curry was on their team.
Even Chicago, or like a Chicago, Miami, like a secondary market. But Oklahoma City is like a 4th level market.
If Stephen A. Smith gave a damn about Oklahoma City, this would be the most talked about team in media history.
This is a team that First Take hates because They don't have any on-court issues, so you really can't bust them for like effort or for bad defense or for poor rebounding. And all of these guys, by and large, off court, seem to be pretty quiet. Seem to have mind their P's and Q's and don't give any. They don't give the media anything to kind of go on. So there's literally nothing hot takey about that team. Kind of like the Cavaliers last year. Like, you remember that was a big bitch about us was, hey, these guys aren't assholes. They're not, popping off in the media. They're not playing poorly. There's really nothing to talk about, And I think Oklahoma City is kind of a turbo level of that.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I hope the Cavs, they have the talent to figure this out, but it's going to be frustrating. The fact that the Cavaliers are the more frustrating team on a Sunday afternoon during Brown season because they lost to the Charlotte Hornets of all teams. And I just saw a stat. Cavaliers are the 9th team in NBA history to not score a single point in overtime.
Oof.
71 years of overtime basketball.
If you think right now, in the modern NBA, when somebody sneezes, there's typically, points scored when something like that goes down. But yeah, that's kind of amazing. But yeah, that is. I mean, we can talk Cavs for a little bit while longer. I don't know. Let's move on to something a little bit more, pleasurable and happy here. Let's move on to the other game today. Let's move on to your Cleveland Browns, who lost in a thriller. It was squeaker. 31-3, Chicago Bears tuned up the Cleveland Browns like a 65 Chevy. Shedeur Sanders, 3 turnovers actually when it was all said and done with. I don't know. Do you want to give him 2 or do you want to give Jerry Jeudy one of those interceptions? Because we can talk about that. The Browns, I don't really want to know where you guys want to start. The defense got their asses kicked. The offense was ineffective. Special teams looked like shit. Other than that, though, it was a pretty good effort for Kevin Stefanski's bunch. How much do we really want to go into this?
I mean,
okay.
I mean, nobody should be shocked. Nobody should be shocked, and that's we had no. We're missing more than half the offensive line.
Yeah,
and nobody can run. I think Shedeur was our leading rusher with 24 rushing yards, 22 or 24. I believe it's 24 though. And just embarrassing, just bad. But I mean, expected. That's at least how I feel. AA, because we obviously kicked it yesterday watching John Cena, and I told you and I told you it was going to be bad news. It was going to be bad news. You're missing Teller. You're missing Pochik. You're missing Conklin. I mean, just bad news. I mean, you couldn't run the ball very well to begin with, and it wasn't -20 wind chill. So that's what I got. I don't know what else. Stefanski's on his last days. He's just working through his 2-week notice, like AA said. And that's probably the worst game we'll see all season from Shedeur, considering maybe we'll have some offensive linemen next week. But if we don't, then it could be bad next week too. And I'm just focusing my brain. Fellas, my brain is on April for the Browns. That's where I'm at. I'm Carnell
April
Tate.
Of which year?
Carnell Tate. So April 2026. Carnell Tate. Get him here to Cleveland. Bring him up from Columbus. And that is where my mind's at. That was bad today. Bad.
Real quick before AA goes to kind of piggyback on Eli's point, but if you take Shedeur's numbers out of the rushing game today, 14 carries, 26 yards.
Right.
That's what the Browns had. Judkins had 12 carries for 21.
Right. Yeah, dude, just bad. Sorry, AA. And real quick, let me just say this too. Because
we'll just bring on that one.
No, you're good. I gotta get some water. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I got you for a second. The other thing that's frustrating to me too is just, I truly believed until I found out half the line was missing, Rob, that we might have a chance. This is a trap game for Chicago. Okay, cold weather. Okay, we're Cleveland. Like, we play in cold weather too. And the fact that by Sunday I woke up this morning and I said, man, I just have no faith. And that was the first time this year I've woke up and I've had no faith. By 1 o'clock every Sunday, 4 o'clock, whenever they play, I have mustered up a little bit of I've worked a way to be like, look, if we can just complete forward pass more with, Gabriel when he was in there. And like, now I'm like, if we could just somewhat run the ball. I had no faith in the team today. And that sucks. That's why my mind's on April, because there's no joy this team can give me right now that will truly make me happy for my entire Sunday.
Well, what's going to make me happy, and I know we're going to keep going with this Browns discussion right now, but I feel like I need to contribute this. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers is down by 2 with a minute to go in the fourth quarter. They have the ball midfield. The old-ass field general has a chance to run a 2-minute drill and put it away against the Seattle Seahawks. If they are looking for a field goal, they need a couple of first downs to do it, and they got 67 seconds left in this game to do it.
Do they have any timeouts? Sorry.
That's
I'm putting you on the spot. Do they have any timeouts?
They got 3 stops.
Yeah, I don't know about the timeout situation. Or no, I think they.
ESPN's telling me they got 3 stops.
Yeah, 3 timeouts. Seattle has 2. But yeah, they do have that. I do want to say this. I do want to give credit to Chicago. I do want to give credit to the Bears. A little bit to what Eli was saying. Like the Bears, this was a classic trap game. We were sandwiched in between 2 Bears-Packers games. They faced the Packers last week. They got the Packers again next week. Yep. So this was very, very easily Chicago could have came, they could have played today, played down to the Cleveland Browns, and they did it. So I do want to give credit there to the Bears. They showed me that they are the real deal at the top of the NFC conference. The Browns.
We'll see if they're at the top, because that's how competitive the NFC is right now. This Packer game's going on. It's back and forth with Denver. Green Bay wins this game, despite the fact that they did tune up the Browns by 4 scores. The Bears are still going to be the 7th seed in the NFC.
Right, and again, and that's why I was saying too. Like for Chicago, this was a game that they needed to win, and they needed to dominate, honestly, and they did. For me, on the Browns standpoint. This should eliminate this game here. And, we talk all year about, this is a top-ranked defense. This defense does this. Our Browns defense does that. Mm-hmm. Every time we are faced with adversity, the defense crumbles. Every time.
Anytime they need a stop, anytime they need a big moment out of that defense, it seems like it comes up short.
Yeah, this is not a good defense. They're not good. And I understand, injuries and stuff. And look, and yes, I'm going to exclude Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's getting closer to that single season sack record. Right. But with that being said, this should eliminate the conversation of Jim Schwartz getting an opportunity to become the next head coach. Tommy Rees, nah. As the offensive coordinator. Absolutely not. No. Your next head coach and your next general manager is currently not in this organization. If you hire from within, you're an idiot. I'm assuming the coach scored.
60-yard field goal with 47 seconds to go in the game. The Indianapolis Colts and 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, the only fucking player in the league that's older than me. 16-15 over Seattle right now, baby. Here we go, Grandpa.
Game isn't over yet. We gotta wait till the final zeros. We gotta wait till
Let me enjoy my happiness.
No. No, the game's over. Sam Darnold ain't gonna do nothing. He is not gonna drive me down. The game is over. What is it? 40? The game's over.
Fantasy owner of Sam Darnold, I can confirm what Double A is saying.
Yeah, the game's over. Sam Darnold will throw a pick. The game's over. Okay.
Well, if you want to get practical about it, 47 seconds to go. Seattle burned all their timeouts on that drive to kind of give themselves some time to come back. So they have 0 timeouts, 47 seconds to go, and the seer of ghosts under center. So we'll see how that goes.
Dude. Yeah, I will.
Go ahead, Eli. Eli, you go.
Oh, I was going to say to your point, Double A, about touch on a lot there about the Browns. First off, I'll address that first, I guess. Jim Schwartz should not ever be considered for a head coaching position, at least not in my mind. He's 29-51 as a head coach. multiple disaster seasons. I know there was a little bit of, rumbling of maybe we look at him, at least give him an interview. I just think that's crazy. And to your point, AA, if there was any sort of rumbling about that, it is completely done now. Now, Tommy Rees, we'll see. I mean, it's hard to tell what exactly is Tommy Rees and what's Kevin Stefanski right now, because, I mean, what do you think Tommy Rees, who's trying to actively fight for maybe the head coaching gig next year, would have did what he did last week when the 2-point conversion and the disaster and all that? That's where I'm at on the Browns. It's like, I agree with you. They should not hire from within and bring anybody up here. I think it is somebody outside of the organization, but I'm willing to give Tommy Rees more of a chance at offensive coordinator. I think Schwartz, if he wants to stick around as DC, that's cool. And if he wants to go explore somewhere else, so be it.
Well, again, I do think you're going to get a new staff, and that's going to be that. And Tommy Rees is kind of a part of this. Mary Kay had a report that the Browns they don't want Tommy Rees to leave the building. And, again, they're all nice guys. Can I address something real quick? Kind of off of what you said, Eli, from last week. Mm-hmm. You know how many analytical idiots last week mentioned that Kevin Stefanski made the right call in going for 2 on the first 2-point conversion? Like that. All right, let me set the stage here. 31-17 last week against Tennessee. Browns score the touchdown, 31-23. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Stefanski went for 2 and didn't get it. Now, us reasonable people would say, you know what? It would make more sense if you're down, kick the extra point, be down 31-24.
Right.
And then if you score again, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
Tie or go for the win. Analytic idiots out there instead are saying, if you score and you're down 31-23, go for 2. And then there's a percentage where if you get the 2-point conversion, it's 31-25, and then you could, win the game later on. Well, here's the problem with that. Here's the problem. The conversion rate in 2-point conversions this year is under 50%. Ooh. Last season, it was at its lowest. Last season, NFL teams only converted 41% of 2-point conversion.
Well, because they went for it more than they've ever gone.
They went for it more, and part of it too, with the rule change that took place a few years ago, moving the extra points back for the kickers. So you go for it more. Well, here's the other problem that analytics doesn't take into effect.
Boys, Sam Darnold led a field goal drive.
He didn't throw a touchdown, so my point still stands.
By the way, Seattle's about ready to win this game with 6 field goals. So yeah, we're keep going.
So I'll put a ball on it with this. Momentum. Analytics takes no account into momentum. How many times when a team goes for 2, let's just say you lead a 12-play drive, right? 13, 14, 15-play drive down the field, and your team scores. You're hot like, hell yeah, let's go. And especially in that case, it happens at home. You have all the momentum. And then your dumb head coach calls for a 2-point conversion play. You don't get it. All the air is left out of the freaking building.
Right.
Well, there's no analytical percentage for that. Get the hell out of here talking about that works. That doesn't work. Give me a stat that shows a high rate of teams converting more than 1 2-point conversion in one game. You won't find it.
And the other thing is, too, if you want to talk about the numbers of it, how are the numbers affected when you take your starting quarterback off the field? How are those numbers affected when you have these creative, I'm going to, get all my, my Madden created playbook out and just go crazy here? Those numbers are predicated on sound decisions, on other things that give you good chances to win. And, it's kind of like the draft picks situation. It's great when you're the Browns and you got multiple first-round picks every year. if you don't do anything with them, they don't matter. So all the numbers in the world don't matter if you can't get your head out of your ass. So, and I don't know what's going to happen with this organization, big picture here. I don't know if it is going to be Andrew Berry and Stefanski get the axe, if it's just one or if it's none at that rate. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see how Paul DePodesta leaving and going to the Rockies, kind of messes with this stuff, because he was kind of the shadow puppet master of this whole operation. Does Jimmy want to keep going with that? Does Jimmy want to keep progressing forward with that? Or does he want something kind of new? Well, Phillip Rivers just threw an interception. Colts lose. Welcome back, Phil. But that's
trying to say it.
Like, how big of changes are you going to want? Because if it's everybody, we're not going to have a conversation about Jim Schwartz being the DC. We're not going to have a conversation about Tommy Rees being the OC. It's going to be up to Jimmy. Do you want a clean sweep, or do you want to do what you have been doing the last 2 or 3 years and trying to service this thing while moving and while, in the middle of this race, and try to see if you can reload? Now, it's kind of ludicrous. They're trying to reload from like one decent season 3 years ago now. So they might have to have a come to Jesus moment. But I think a lot of it's going to be predicated on who goes, who stays, and what is going to replace whatever's here now.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. I had that. Honestly, that actually irritated me ever since we went off the air last week. I've held that take in for the last week. But you're right, though, Rob. And my personal humbled opinion, and this is not a hot take, this is just what it is. Jimmy should clean house. The Haslam should clean house. I mean, you've been going.
Should have done it last year, but yeah.
Yeah, again, this regime, you've been going at it for 6 years, and there is no flip side where, if you do bring this back, what's the high mark then? There isn't. So right. I understand not letting anybody go at this very moment. Maybe, at this point, it's probably smart just to finish out the string. That's fine. I mean, if you do fire Stefanski tomorrow, the only thing that's going to happen, Tommy Rees or Jim Schwartz or Bubba Ventrone would take over as the head coach, interim. They might win a game or two, and then you're saying, the assistant coach should get.
He's got to get an interview. He's got to get an interview.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, that's the worst case scenario. Is allowing I agree with you, Dub. Firing Stefanski right now is the worst case scenario, because you do bring Schwartz up or Reese, whoever gets to be the interim head coach, and if they go on a little run and win 2 out of the last 3 or whatever, they're gonna. Maybe we should give them at least an interview, and that just I don't want the thought to be available for the Browns to have the option to do. They need to go from outside. Is it Robert Saleh from when they looked at it with Stefanski and him back when they hired Stefanski? I mean, who is it? Is it Dion? I mean, who knows? But they have to hire somebody else.
The only reason why you would fire Stefanski now, even or before the end of the season, if you wanted to jumpstart the process in trying to find the replacement. And again, you bring up all the pro names. Yeah, we don't need to hustle on that. If you have a beat on Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, and again, I'm not trying to call, but Lane Kiffin or somebody like that in the college ranks that you're trying to get right now, then you get rid of them. You try to get that process moving, but you don't make a change just to make a change right now with 3 weeks to go in the season, because you're right. And that is a thing that, there was speculation. That's why the Dolphins, when they fired their GM, they didn't fire Mike McDaniel at that rate, because they didn't want to have an interim guy come in, run 4 or 5 in a row, and then really cloud up that process. Now, incidentally, Mike McDaniel has done that himself and won 4 or 5 out of the last few games here. So the Dolphins the Chiefs aren't in playoff run, but the Dolphins are still at this point. So he clouded up the process anyway. But that's what owners are kind of afraid of with something like that happening. So the only reason why you would get rid of Stefanski right now is to see, if there is a beat. And honestly, if you're going to do that, then do you keep Barry, around for 3 weeks when he's not going to hire the new guy? Do you keep Barry around? Is he going to? Does that mean he's going to be around to hire the new guy? So, yeah, the Browns aren't going to show their cards or make a move until they absolutely have to, I would think.
Yeah, and my final point on this, and again, it is just to show your cards kind of situation, because I think it is just timing. In terms of the GM job, this is one of the more attractive jobs. This might be the most attractive job in the NFL this offseason if this opens up for the Browns.
Giants are up there. The Giants, I think, are up there. Well, they're not looking for a GM. They're looking for a coach.
Right. In terms of just the general manager, you got 2 first-round picks. You have an opportunity to rebuild an offensive line.
You also have one more year, though, of that Deshaun Watson contract. That's the only negative.
You're on the back end of Deshaun. Like, anybody who's coming in for the Cleveland Browns, you don't even have to meet and greet Deshaun Watson. He doesn't even exist to you. Okay? You could just come in, put out your 2-year plan. You have an opportunity to clean house. And statistically, you have a defense that you can stand on, kind of make some improvements there. When I mention the defense is bad, it's from a culture standpoint that the defense is bad. Talent-wise, they can handle business, talent-wise, but it's the culture. But if a GM comes in and can put in a number 1 receiver, can rebuild the offensive line, you have a chance. You have a chance to do something and have a coach that they want there. You could do something here with the Cleveland Browns. It's a very attractive job.
They're definitely going to fire the special teams coach now.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. I mean, all systems go. Look, Cleveland Browns offseason, we haven't had one of these in a while where we just fire everybody. So it's going to be, back to the status quo. But really, truly believe, fellas, that Myles Garrett will be involved with both of these decisions, heavily involved. He did not agree to sign back with Cleveland and re-sign to not be involved in these types of decisions. So whoever Myles feels is fit for the job, he's going to have a big say in that. I understand, obviously, the ownership is going to have a say. They're going to try, when the GM gets in there, they're going to try to find the coach together. But 95 is going to have his say too. We've talked about it for the last few years, but we're really starting to waste the last few prime years of Myles Garrett. And I don't want to say few because he could go for another 5-6 years. I mean, who knows in this rate? But statistically, this is like, we need to get this right because we messed it up when we had Nick Chubb, who everybody loved here. We had the guys that everybody loved here, and we could have made a run. So Myles is like one of the last of that core of that team, and we owe it to him.
Well, I'm a little bit cooler on Myles, I guess, than you two are. If you want to, go with our common thread here the last few weeks, they own the contract. That's about it. And he worked very hard to raise a ruckus and get that contract. And he did not have to sign it. And if he didn't sign it, it'd be a whole lot easier for him to leave right now. So,
he signed it. Go ahead, Doubly.
Real quick, I can't trust either. I understand it's a business partnership too. I get that. I'm not disagreeing with Eli. The only thing I don't trust, I just have it in my head that Myles is going to do the same thing come Super Bowl week. He's gonna do the exact same thing. He's going to go and say, I want to play for a winner, even though he signed a new contract. I cannot erase that from my mind that he's going to go on Rich Eisen, go on McAfee, go on these other shows Super Bowl week and say, I want to play for a winner. I don't like what's going on here. I just can't unsee that.
But I disagree with that.
Languages now. I heard he's learning Japanese. So yeah, he can do it now. In all areas of the world.
But I disagree with that because, like I said, I don't think Myles signs that contract AA without him saying I'm involved with these decisions. So I do think I'm not saying he's the end all be all when it comes to this GM and head coaching opening, which we're kind of alluding to seems to be the route the Browns are going to go. But he's definitely going to have a big say in it because he's a franchise player of the team. When you associate the Cleveland Browns, you associate it with Myles Garrett. If there is anything right now, him and Shedeur, because Shedeur is taking the city over. I mean, I get we are winning right now, but people definitely talk about Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland. He brings buzz on the offensive side of things. But Myles Garrett is going to have a say, is my final point on it.
I don't know about that. I'm not 100% sure. Jimmy Haslam's kept him at arm's reach when things have gotten tumultuous with him and the team. And the other point of it, too, is, they hire a new GM that's not Andrew Berry. that GM can look at Miles and say, you know what, that last guy made you some promises. I'm not that last guy. We're going to have to do what I'm hired to do this too. It's my name on the line. It's my career on the line too. You signed a contract to be here. I expect you to be here for everything mandatory in the offseason and training camp. Other than that, though, if you want to be straight up about it, the Browns owe him the money. The Browns don't really owe him much else, especially, again, if it's a new GM that didn't sign that contract.
And the thing is, too,
I'm not saying it'd be smart. I'm not saying it would be smart, but I'm saying who knows at this rate.
They definitely owe it to him. Go ahead, Elway. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, the thing is, too, I know we got a break. The thing is, if all this happens in the offseason, whether Eli's path is correct, which I hope it is, or Doomsday America Part 2 with Myles Garrett, there is a real possibility that we're going to have to also say Myles Garrett, NFL single season sack leader. So like first ballot Hall of Famer. So all of that ties in too. If he's able to get that sack record, he does have a little bit of leverage in terms of how things are dictated in the offseason.
I guess to take it full circle on what we were talking about the first half of this segment, what the Milwaukee Bucks are dealing with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Browns are asking themselves the same question about Myles Garrett.
Definitely.
I mean, you are talking about the crown jewel of the franchise. You're talking about the, and I'm nothing against Shador, but Myles Garrett right now is the only Hall of Famer on this team. He is going to have, they're going to have to figure out what can we get for him. Is it worth getting rid of him? Is it worth, because the other thing is too, is, we hate the dead money with Deshaun Watson. You start trading Myles Garrett, we better just get used to dead money every year for the next, until Eli's like 40. Right. So that's going to be questions they're going to have to answer. And Myles, he can make it easy. He can make it difficult. It will be interested to see if he is the all-time sack leader going into this offseason, what he tries to pull with those cards.
We got news and notes. I'm sorry, not new, but Roundtable up next. We have a statement from the Kansas City Chiefs. Injury update on Patrick Mahomes. An MRI has confirmed that Mahomes sustained a torn ACL in his left knee. Patrick and the club are currently exploring surgery options.
That sucks.
So we're not even just talking. I mean, obviously this season's done for Kansas City, but this spill, considering how late it is this year, this spills into next season too for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think the three of us will take a couple seconds to process that during the break and figure out what's going on, because this has ramifications obviously on this season, even though it's already done for the Chiefs, but it also has ramifications now for the next few years. Obviously the rehab time may bleed into next season. I believe, and we did play the name that backup quarterback game before the show did start today. It will fall on Gardner Minshew. The same man who tried to get an extra year of college eligibility by bashing his hand with a hammer. He will be now the starting quarterback of Andy Reid's Kansas City Chiefs for the remainder of the season. It's going to affect them too, because it's going to change his game. We always talk about, these, quarterbacks, any player, like, there's an injury that they were a different player before that, Lamar or Michael Jordan or, whoever here. This might be Patrick Mahomes' injury. We might now see a very more statuesque Mahomes now in the pocket. Again, he's over 30 years old. So, we have a whole lot to talk about with the NFL coming up. A lot of blowouts, but a lot of fun games. Again, the uncle for Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old, did not win today. Unfortunately, the Seahawks did upend the Colts 15-13. 5 fucking field goals for the Seahawks.
Rozycki, I'm blaming you on that one. I'm sorry. I'm blaming you. You celebrated so prematurely.
You agreed with me that Sam Darnold was useless with a minute to go. You all agreed. You were forwarding that conversation.
I stand by that.
You let it
I
go.
stand by that.
I stand by that, but I also stand by the fact that there was way too much time. We grew up in an era, and you should know as a Steelers fan who grew up playing Tom Brady in playoff games, you don't call it over till the game is over.
Tom Brady?
You did it.
Sam Darnold.
I can't believe it.
Tom Brady, Sam Darnold. Are we really comparing these guys?
No, we're just comparing the situation. Is we can't till it's over. It ain't over, man. Oh. All right, Rozycki, set us a break. My bad.
Okay. Well, we started our NFL conversation right now. We'll take a pause on it. We will come back and talk about the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs, the fact that Phillip Rivers at 44 played an entire game and didn't die, and pretty much the rest of the NFL action coming up here too, except the Browns. Thank God we got rid of them. They went down to the Bears, obviously, 4 scores, so we don't really have to deal with that anytime soon. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We have AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon sitting bitch in this back seat of ours here on this screen. We will be back here in just a few moments, and see you soon.
Watching it again, hit by hand.
Watch as he goes to the ground. It looks like
Ooh.
that.
Oh.
Is going to be the big story in the NFL, even though the Chiefs are not a playoff team. I guess that's also the other big story in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes now out for the year at least. Tears his ACL. The Kansas City Chiefs have announced. I guess that is as good of a place as any to start the NFL roundtable here. We also got a big injury in Green Bay, Micah Parsons, non-contact knee injury. We're going to wait for any word on that one too. But yeah, it's kind of weird that we're going to leave this whole thing with a team that's not in the playoffs. But we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who are officially, they are dead and buried. Their 2026 playoff campaign is over. And even if it wasn't, I would think with a backup quarterback in there, things would get pretty dicey. I guess we could just start there, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it sucks. It's nice. It's nice for starters that I won't have to hear about the Kansas City Chiefs at random points of the day from one Rob Rozycki, because I've never met somebody more obsessed with the Kansas City Chiefs than you. But with that being said, it sucks. As a football fan, because whether you like him or you don't like him, Patrick Mahomes is good for the game of football. You need a villain, you need a hero, so whatever you view him as, that it sucks. And you kind of hinted at it in the first break, or right before the first break. Rozycki, you said, he's on the other side of 30. His birthday's in September, so he'll be 31 when the season starts up next year. So it's like, yeah, not great as a football fan. Looking at it from the Chiefs' point of view, this season, we've come on here the last few weeks and kind of started to sound the march of this is the end of the Chiefs season, and now it's here. It's here, but this is big for next year. I know we're not going to do the roundtable for the 2026 NFL season, but you wonder what Kansas City's draft strategy is. I know it's weird to talk about Kansas City in the draft, but you wonder if you start looking at just somebody to at least put on the roster, because you talked about with Minshew, and Gardner Minshew.
I think he's actually one of the better backups in the league.
Yeah, but I think he's still, I want to say he's close, if not over 30 years old. So what I'm saying is, you do, at some point, Kansas City needs to start thinking of the future. I know you paid this guy $500 million, but 31, coming off an ACL injury, you at least should protect yourself. You don't want to end up like teams, not to throw, Steelers shade, but you don't want to end up wondering what could be after your legend, leaves. And that's all I'm saying. So I think that's big for the future. As far as this season, the Chiefs, the way they were playing, we're probably going to get bounced in the first round, even though I disagree. But, that's what the consensus was. So I think it's bigger for the future for these guys.
I think we're right. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's also big this year, too, for everybody, not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
We're talking about the AFC representative for, the last 4 years? I mean, the last time, there was a team other than the Chiefs representing, the AFC in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady was involved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the first time in a while that the AFC is truly open. And I'm looking at you, Josh Allen. I'm looking at you, Buffalo Bills. The one guy you can't beat is out. So, you know what? You have that clear road for the first time in maybe the only time ever. And who knows what's going to happen with Lamar? I know the Ravens right now are on the outside looking in, but they're very close to the Steelers in the north. But you might have the most wide open road you'll ever have if you're the Buffalo Bills to go. So it's big for them too.
Well, I would say maybe. Because if you're a Patriots fan right now, you're saying the universe is finally correcting itself after Mahomes' run. We're back at the top. But you're right about Buffalo. I wanted to touch real quick.
Well, by the way, do you know what New England did today? By the way,
yeah, it was.
They blew the game against Buffalo.
Yeah, they lost to Buffalo. So I mean,
but again, offensively, New England looked good offensively, but it's the big story that we talked about, that we're going to talk about going into these playoffs. Can these younger teams handle business in the postseason against a Josh Allen and established studs. And that's going to be the number one storyline in the postseason. Really, it's going to be Josh Allen or bust. To the point of Kansas City, let's be real. The Chiefs have been playing with house money. They've been playing with fire basically since 2023. We all remember they were down and out going all the way to Christmas Day of 2023 when they lost to the Raiders. And they didn't look good on that night. And somehow they stumbled their way into the playoffs. And the ghost of Patrick Mahomes made his way through the playoffs as he, normally does. And then last season, they didn't look that great either. They just happened to win, 11 one-score games?
Their offense was putrid last year. Yeah,
their offense was terrible. So from that standpoint, I mean, the Chiefs have been playing with fire for a long time, and luck finally ran out. Again, look, not celebrating injuries at all. That's not – because I enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes play, even though I don't enjoy it as much as Chris Collinsworth. But I do like watching him play. But, yeah, to Eli's point, we're going to have to talk about the Chiefs in the NFL draft, like seriously, because we just don't know. First off, does Andy Reid want to stick around for this? He's up there in age. I know he's a football guy. I don't know how much he loves. I don't know if he wants to go through a whole nother rebuilding process once again with the Chiefs. And dare I say it again, this is a tough AFC West.
Right.
So can we assume that if Kansas City picks up – if they picked up Phillip Rivers, for crying out loud, next year, can we assume that the Chiefs, with a team that probably won't have Travis Kelce either, because he'll probably retire and get on to a wedding with Taylor Swift, are they ready for a rebuild? Because that's what's going to happen with Kansas City.
That's what's going to have to happen. Andy Reid is 68 in March. And yeah, that is, we're talking about a football coach, and some of these guys do go into their 70s, but it's still a pretty advanced age to start a rebuild. Moon, I don't think, I think the Chiefs got to look at their draft for sure, but I don't think they're going to go quarterback high up. First off, there's really nobody that they're going to be really in the neighborhood to take it, I would think. I mean,
they at least got to take a flyer on
that classes we have going. But I think right now, Mahomes, even with the ACL injury, that's the one ace in the hole you have, and you're the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the dude who will make your succession plan a lot easier when you do talk about who is going to take over for Andy Reid, who is going to be the next big playmaker at tight end, at running back. Because what we're seeing right now, remember, when Brady won his 6 Super Bowls, he stayed dormant for about a decade between those two runs. The 3-3 with the Patriots, especially. This is going to be for Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be them resorting and reorganizing this team and understanding the fact, too, that you are going to have a 31, 32-year-old Patrick Mahomes with a bad knee now, and you're going to have to work around that a little bit. So this is going to have to be Kansas City shuffling this around and figuring out how to do the second chapter of Patrick Mahomes' career. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure. It's going to be, Brett Veach out there. The GM is going to have a tall task with the roster construction he's going to have to do, because they're not going to just ignore the receivers anymore, which is basically what they've been doing since Tyreek Hill left. They've been doing what Green Bay's and Aaron Rodgers for so long, not really burning a lot of draft capital. I think they did pick up a first-round receiver this time around.
Worthy was a first round, and I believe Rashee Rice was a top 3-round pick. So,
okay, top 3 is different than a top round pick, but
he's developed pretty well for him.
Yeah,
I think the big thing is, I get what you're saying, Rob, and I know you have something to say as well, AA. But I know the big thing is there's not a quarterback prospect. I'm not saying they're going to find their guy, but I do think you're going to be hearing the conversation of quarterback come April that we weren't hearing. You weren't ever hearing anything conversation about quarterback, and I think it is something that's going to be brought up for the first time. And since Patrick Mahomes has taken over at the helm, that, is he still going to be Pat Mahomes after this ACL injury at 31 years old? And I mean, you guys have recovered. We're in the modern era now where, it's a little bit easier. I mean, an ACL injury isn't easy to recover from, but a lot easier than back in, 80s, 90s. But it is something to think about. A lot of teams in the NFL don't have a good succession plan, and you got to think, if you're the Chiefs, what if he doesn't come back the same as he has been?
Well, his game is going to be different.
Right.
Yeah.
His game. Now, is that still going to translate to wins? It should. Now, if we're talking about even Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, the evolution of elite quarterback play anyway is to be smarter within the pocket. Now, will we see Patrick Mahomes be as mobile, moving outside the pocket? That might be a major question. But hopefully, I trust that Mahomes is at least smart enough to be able to elevate his game with his mind. And that's where your elite quarterbacks, they adjust their game to be able to say, hey, you know what? I could be a little bit more cerebral in the pocket. And that's going to be the adjustment. Even if Mahomes did not have this injury, this would be the adjustment he would have to make anyway. But now that's going to be a major thing.
Well, and it's not just football, but, you look at all great players, and if Mahomes is, in fact, one or two greatest quarterback of all time to play when it's all said and done, he will do this. Great players reinvent their game in the second half of their career. The dunker Michael Jordan becomes the jump shooter and defense Michael Jordan. Kobe, the same kind of evolution. You see Lionel Messi, playing now into his late 30s and now probably early 40s at this rate. He has picked, he now knows how to pick his opportunities better. These guys have to get a second way, another way to learn how to win games if you want to have the 15, 18, 20, 25-year-long run that some of these guys have. Look at LeBron. He's a dramatically different player now than what he was at 26, 27 years old. That dude shoots more threes in 1 year than I think he did in his 20s. So, it is an evolution. And, injury or not, Double A's right. LeBron hasn't had a serious injury. He's had to evolve. Patrick Mahomes now with the serious injury will have to evolve on what he's going to have to do. And I guess the questions that Kansas City is going to have to ask long term, the big one, I would think, is that going to be with Andy Reid or is that going to be with somebody else? Because 68-year-old head coach starting on a rebuild, which may not take a year or two or maybe even 3 in some cases, are you going to want to have, Joe Biden or, somebody along that ilk coaching your football team at the age of 75?
Well, they need to upgrade their receivers first off anyway, and that's the other thing too. It's like, I think Travis Kelce was ready to retire this past season if they would have won the Super Bowl. And, this is what we talk about on the weekend that John Cena retired. Sometimes you don't leave on your own terms, that kind of standpoint. So
most of the time you don't leave on your own terms.
Exactly. One little quick point, too, about the Chiefs, in case you're like, wait a minute, where are they drafting next year? As of this moment, they will have the 12th pick in the first round of the draft next year, the Kansas City Chiefs. So you're thinking of the neighborhood of the Bengals, Falcons, Vikings. They would pick right before the Dolphins as of this moment right now that we're on the air.
Good. Yeah, and that's going to be and they could look at this as an opportunity too, because, during this run, they haven't had a chance to draft, I think, higher than like 25, 24 or something like that. So, yeah, this might be, if you do this correctly, I don't know if it's going to, I could see them actually using this pick on the defensive side of the ball, trying to find another stalwart, another leader on defense that'll kind of, help Mahomes out. Again, you're talking about now Mahomes entering his second act. Things like having a strong defense helps out an older quarterback. So, in any way, shape, or form, they're going to be able to, they're going to do everything they can to make Mahomes' job easier, at this rate. Again, and we're not talking about somebody who's ancient. We're talking about we're not talking about Phillip Rivers. We're talking about a 30-year-old quarterback who, in theory, should have 6-7 years of high-level football ahead of him, if not more.
Rob, I know earlier you brought up that Bills-Patriots. The Bills was able to come from behind and beat the Patriots. So you do have that storyline. I think the storyline of Josh Allen and the Bills, like that, they're out of excuses now. Like if the Bills are almost in a kind of a bigger way, kind of in the Cavaliers' position where if they don't do it here, now that Mahomes is out of the picture, Lamar may not make the playoffs. You know, like some of these top, Joe Burrow is not in the playoffs. He was the Bengals were eliminated.
If Pittsburgh wins tomorrow, they will be officially eliminated. The Bengals. So
the Bengals, yeah. So Josh Allen, no excuses at this point, but I'm looking at Bo Nix, who had 4 touchdowns today. Drake May is still the real deal offensively. Jacksonville is still, they're doing things well. Houston is right there. The Chargers, like all these teams, even the Steelers. I know Eli's not a fan of the Steelers right now with Aaron Rodgers, but Josh Allen, if he doesn't do it here, I don't know when it's going to happen.
Well, AA, don't get me wrong. I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. In fact, it pains me every Sunday when I have to watch him in black and gold. But what I will say is, to your point, AA, this is the year for Buffalo because Josh Allen, obviously, in that run with Lamar, Mahomes, this is the year. Because if not, I'm looking at that 7 seed. We talked about Houston last week. C.J. Stroud even, a guy that, hey, I didn't make a ton of noise. I mean, he beat the Browns in the playoffs, and, that was that. But he is a guy who, we were ready to crown as a NFL collective, everybody across the board saying, is this the next guy? Like, is C.J. Stroud going to lead the new class? And he has a chance to do so. A lot of these guys, it's going to be a lot of fun because it's like Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers fending off these other guys. And I don't know what to say about Herbert. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. But Herbert's kind of like weird. I feel like he's still like the new guy on the block because he hasn't been here enough. But he is in that same discussion as it should be, at least, of Allen and Lamar and Mahomes. But, it's going to –
Talent-wise, he is. Talent-wise. Yeah. The issue with Herbert is the Chargers have always been they can't get over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the divisional race.
Well,
the year they finally do it, they're still not going to win the division because of Denver.
Right. And it's going to be interesting. That's my team though. Like I know, like we talked a little bit, we're going to keep ramping up as we get closer to playoffs. I think Houston's going to make a lot of noise. I do. I know I said last week they're a team that I think could go in if they play New England. In New England, they could beat them. And New England showed today that defense is susceptible. So I think Houston's going to be a lot of fun. And that defense is nasty. DeMeco Ryans has that defense clicking in all cylinders right now with Will Anderson leading the charge.
Well, they tuned up the Cardinals today. They actually doubled their number 40-20. Another big game for C.J. Stroud. So, I mean, the Texans, they figured out if they're going to be bad for a month, be bad for the first month of the season. It seems like it's coming together out there. And, it's weird to say, but that AFC South might be pretty competitive, when you start talking about the Texans and the Jaguars, both, looking on pace anyway for double-digit, wins. I think the Jaguars actually did get their 10th win of the season today. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you might actually have a couple of teams coming out of that division where nobody really thought, was really writing anything about any one of those two teams. So, and at least, for the Browns' luck, the 1 year that the Jaguars are resurging and figuring shit out is the year that they actually had their first-round pick. So,
how about that?
Yeah. For a dude, by the way, who's been on IR for a month. So, they figured out a way to screw that pick up, at least for this year, and managed to just keep on going. So, hands off to Jacksonville anyway.
We won the Greg Newsome trade, though. We did win that one with Jacksonville, I'd say we got that one. So far,
I heard they're going to put that banner up in the stadium, winners of the Greg Newsome trade.
Listen, man, we ain't got much to celebrate this weekend. You obviously started the show off. We went over what we've gone through this weekend.
I said, shit basketball team, shit football team, and we still have the third act of the show where we got to get to the Michigan man's bad week. So, at least, hey, dude, that's one thing that we could look at is that no matter how bad this weekend has been for us, no matter how many washing machine problems that I have been dealing with, how many, losses we've been seeing with the Browns or anything like that, we have all had a much better weekend than Sherrone Moore.
Yeah. Although a close second would be, I'm going to be honest. I think the Colts, just the free fall. I know the Phillip Rivers thing is a good story.
I think they got some momentum now, and we alluded to it because it was happening while we were doing the first segment of the show. They lose a heartbreaker. The Colts do 18-16. Phillip Rivers, 44 years young, the grandfather of, I think, 2 at this point. He is the second grandfather to play in the NFL after, anybody know?
Brett Favre.
There you go. He actually did throw a touchdown. He also did throw an interception to seal the game for the Seahawks. But yeah, the Colts throw a 44-year-old starting quarterback out there. They lose by 2 on a day that Seattle kicks 6 field goals, doesn't score a touchdown, but they end up beating the Colts, and the Colts are now 8-6. They're now out of the playoff picture, but they might have a little momentum there. Phillip Rivers finished the game, and he didn't die. I think a lot of expectations were exceeded just by that. So I don't know if you guys want to react to
real quick.
Eli Sewell, who's literally twice your age playing right now.
Are the Colts out of playoff contention officially?
No, they're outside looking in.
Okay.
Yeah, they still have a chance.
Miami's still in a game under 500. The Colts at 8-6 are still fine.
And they play
like 7.
And the Colts play, I believe, Jacksonville one more time, or is it Houston? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking. 1 second.
I can pull it up here in 2 seconds.
Hey, I have it right here in front of me. So they play the last 3 games.
They play Jacksonville and Houston.
Yeah, I was going to say Niners and then Jags and Houston. So I think it's going to be interesting. And I think Phillip Rivers, he gives them a shot to win it. And as long as he can stay upright, which is really, I know, asking a lot for a 44-year-old quarterback who hasn't played in 5 years. But if he can stay upright, he gives them a chance to win the football game. And they were winning that football game until about 47 seconds left, and Sam Darnold got it done. But I think it's going to be interesting. The AFC South is probably going to be one of the most fun things, like in terms of stories to watch. Double A was alluding to it, I think a week or 2 ago, saying like December is going to be fun. And I've had some fun, as much as you can as a Browns fan who's out of playoff contention again in December. But I think the AFC South is going to be so much fun because, like you said, Robbie, we just talked about Houston is playing Indy. Jacksonville is playing Indy. Can Indy get back into the playoffs, considering they were the team we were talking about in the South, and now they're nowhere to be found in this graphic below us?
Question: If the Colts do make the playoffs with Rivers doing this, would that change your opinion on him for the Hall of Fame? And obviously in the better direction. Would that make him a surefire Hall of Famer compared to maybe if it's a light year, we'll see what happens.
I don't think anything improves his candidacy as far as like, will he get in as a first ballot, second ballot, whatever. He's a Hall of Famer, but he needs to win some playoff games. You want to come back? That's cool, but you got to win some playoff games for your resume to be boosted. They had 8 wins going into today. He didn't. Daniel Jones got those 8 wins.
Yeah, but I mean, remember though when the Eagles won with Nick Foles, nobody really gives a damn about Carson Wentz in that run. It was Nick Foles' show at the final run. That's what Phillip Rivers would be doing if somehow a run were to actually happen.
That's fair. That's
and
fair.
As long as Jonathan Taylor is in that backfield, there's a chance.
And that defense plays.
Mm-hmm. There's always a chance. Look, again, this AFC is going to be in. Again, we talked with the schedule, and I think it's going to be really. We really see it on the NFC side, which we'll talk in a few seconds about. But yeah, you need to see some of these teams really, really, really stand out. I thought Bo Nix probably had the most impressive win of the day, throwing 4 touchdowns while we were on the air against Green Bay.
Yeah, I was watching most of that. Yeah, he was going shot for shot with Jordan Love.
Yeah, so, and Denver is a weird case because anytime we're ready to say, man, they don't look that great. They don't look that great. They're always around, and they always find a way to get the W.
Their last year, and take all the names and the legacies and any sort of image out of it, they're doing what the Chiefs did last year. They're looking like shit pretty much every week and still somehow winning. And at that rate, you don't want to give them a lot of respect because they look like shit all the time. But at the same point in time, they look like shit and still win, so they got to be pretty good. So, like, you don't know where that kind of lays on the whole power rankings because right now, I believe Denver, with New England's loss, is the number 1 seed as we talk.
Correct.
In the AFC. So, yeah, that's a little weird to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and Denver just runs, and my final point on the AFC is Denver just runs such a balanced offense that they never have to, like, really figure out too much adjustment-wise, at least when I watch them. Like they're not like, okay, we haven't been passing, we've been really run heavy and now we have to get in the pass. Like they just run a very smooth, balanced offense, and they don't ask Bo Nix to do too much. Now he has these games where you have 4 touchdowns, but as somebody who has him in fantasy football, I'm telling you, he has those games where he has 1 touchdown and 150 yards. But they just need him to work with whatever the game script is. Here's who we're going in against. This is what we need you to do, and just don't turn the ball over. And that's what he does a really good job of. So I think Denver is going to be tough, man. And, we talked about it just now, number 1 seed in the Mile High, not only just going to Denver, but the altitude that comes with playing in Denver in January, that is going to be a tough, tough place to play.
It's going to be tough that's one of the more decisive home field advantages in the league. And I would say for a team like Denver, it might be a little bit more important than most to get home field. Let's move to the NFC real quick, gentlemen. We're about, halfway through this experience, I think, in this segment. The one question, and speaking of fountains of youth and 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, there was another, we'll just say, geriatric quarterback who looked very much like he did about 10 years ago. And you talk fantasy football, Mr. Moon. I'm talking Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts. Tune up Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks, who were up by 13 points with about 8 minutes to go. They thought the game was in hand. They completely shit the bed in the last 8 minutes of the game. Lots of blown opportunities, bad penalties. Really just kind of just a mess. Yeah. This was a team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl, and a team that we were all very high on in the first 6 weeks of the season. Are they done? Are they pretty much screwed at this rate? I mean, they're tied neck and neck right now with the Carolina Panthers, who, by the way, they're not exactly a juggernaut. They dropped one to New Orleans today.
Yeah, that's an inexcusable loss. It was a comfortable win, too.
Well, and the weird thing is that the way everything worked out was if Carolina had won this week, they were literally in a win and in scenario with that division next week against Tampa Bay head to head. So, this thing isn't. I mean, the AFC South, I think, is competitive because of a pleasant surprise. The NFC South is not as competitive because it seems like there's really no actual dominant team down there. Somebody's going to have to win this division. Could it be Tampa still, or is it Carolina's to lose?
I think it's Carolina AA, and here's the reason. I think, guys, at the end of the day, I said about 3 weeks ago when we were talking about Carolina making a run, I said Carolina's going to win this division. And, I don't know if you guys saw, but Todd Bowles wasn't very happy after the game. And, I would not be in the same room as my mom and be listening to that audio because she wouldn't be disappointed in me because he said the F word a lot. And obviously frustrated, like all jokes aside, that wasn't good. And, the pulse down, I did some diving on social media to see what the pulse is like there in Tampa Bay. And they're saying that Todd Bowles lost the locker room, almost about a month ago, about 3 weeks ago with some of these losses earlier in the year because Tampa Bay started off hot. And our guy, Baker Mayfield, we all rock with him here in Cleveland still, at least a lot of us. He was getting MVP talks. And now it's like to watch on Thursday night, Todd Bowles just melt down, saying it's inexcusable. We just need to play well. Like, this loss is inexcusable. This is the type of loss that breaks your season. Like, literally will end your season. And the difference right now between Carolina and Tampa Bay that I think will be the ultimate determining factor is Carolina's playing like a team. Yeah, they have some ugly losses, but you have not heard any outside noise, of, Tedero McMillan saying anything about Bryce Young like you're having in Philly right now with Hurts and A.J. Brown. You're not hearing anything crazy from the defensive side or from the coach. They are going to win or lose football games, but they're going to be drama-free. And right now, Tampa Bay is literally self-imploding.
Well, there are 3 games left for both of these teams, and 2 of them are against each other. So that's what it's going to come down to.
I mean, that's the most fair way to figure it out. You want to figure out what's going to happen.
And there is a strong chance that the second game between the Panthers and Buccaneers, that will be your Sunday night game for all the marbles in that division. Win it in, lose, and you're out. So maybe there's a lot of close to.
Well, the other one that could be up there too. Remember, there's also the AFC North that we got to worry about with the sea of mediocrity. the Ravens and Steelers finish the season against each other. So
that is true.
That might be one to keep an eye on too. And honestly, if I'm NBC, I would rather have the Steelers and the Ravens more so than Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Yeah, actually, for scheduling purposes, ESPN usually has a Saturday doubleheader in Week 18.
Yeah, that's true too.
Panthers and Bucks could fall into that Saturday
night. That game has like the if that was a playoff game, that would have the Saturday 1 o'clock vibe to it. That's like the Spiro Adidas game. Like
that's the oh crap, I'm not home in time, I'm playing a fitness playoff game there, but it's going to be competitive. Both of these teams screwed up this week, both of them, against divisional teams that are out of the playoffs. Obviously, Carolina should have won today. The fact that they gave up a lead to the Saints and allowed them to win, and they were in the driver's seat, Carolina ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I'm sure there's people in the nitty gritty of suicide pools that are a little pissed off with Carolina because they were just solid long enough to be like, okay, yeah, we could. They'll take care of the Saints. The Saints suck pretty bad. No problem. That's a pretty safe pick to make, I think, in week 15, 16. And, the Carolina Panthers disagreed.
Tyler.
Go ahead, Eli.
I was just going to say, Tyler Shuck. I was asking some Saints fans how do you say it. But, he's not bad. That's my point, Double A, back to you. But 24-32 today, 272 passing yards and a tutty, no picks. Maybe the Saints found their guy. In all the madness, and nobody's talking about the Saints, maybe they found their guy because they're winning some football games and a lot more competitive with him.
No, this just in. Eli Moon says the Tennessee Titans blew the first overall pick with Cam Ward. They did not draft the best quarterback in the draft.
Tyler Shuck, dude. Oh, shucks. You almost had him. No, I don't know. Double A, and I know you got a lot, to bring up with this NFC in total here. I think something that just absolutely, is blowing my mind is the fact that I have to believe Chicago. We talked about them earlier because they played the Browns today. But we have to believe the Chicago Bears are a 2 seed right now. Because I'm not going to give any more talk about the Cleveland Browns today. I will just say that win was not a testament to the Chicago Bears. They took care of business, yes. That is how bad the Cleveland Browns right now are and how depleted they are. I just still don't believe in Chicago. They play Green Bay again, and now I know, obviously, the development's out there on their defensive side of the ball in Green Bay. But until they can beat Green Bay, I don't buy it. Because right now, they're lined up to play each other in Chicago if the playoffs started today, and I take Green Bay still.
Well, they got the matchup again Saturday.
Right.
So the one thing I do like, and I mentioned at the top of the show, Chicago could have easily laid down today. They could have. But they went in, they handled business. Defensively, they should be taken seriously. And, Caleb Williams, look, I'm impressed with their offensive line. They do have protection there. And if DJ Moore can continue to produce from the receiving side of things, they may have something there. Now, Green Bay losing to Denver, because I think when we started the show this evening, Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, you correct me if I'm wrong, they were the 2 seed when we started the show today.
Yeah, they were technically up there. And they have now switched, even though they both did. Well, Green Bay did lose today, correct?
Green Bay lost to Denver.
Lost Denver.
That'll do it.
So they fell all the way to the 7th seed.
Right.
What's up?
I was saying Green Bay fell all the way to the 7th seed as of a few minutes ago when they lost to Denver.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, you want to keep on NFC North deal. The Rams did beat the Detroit Lions today. The Rams did clinch a playoff spot and royally screwed the Lions, who are now a full game back of Green Bay, with Green Bay having the tie break. The one thing I did want to say about the Bears, keep an eye on the defense. They do give up a lot of yards. There are some points involved, but they also force the most turnovers in football. So I don't think it's all that surprising that Shedeur Sanders actually did have, the 3 picks. We were, I think, irritated with the way they came, but Chicago played the type to Double A's point. They did exactly what they should have done. They didn't play down to their competition. They did what they needed to do, and they're proving themselves to be a reasonably reliable team at the top of the division and the top of the conference.
Yeah, I just think postseason wise, I'm just still not bought in on the Chicago team, and I guess I'm just gonna have to. I guess I'm gonna have to figure it out. Come playoff time, are they gonna be able to just do it? Because I don't know. I can't be fooled like I was with that Mitch Trubisky led year, where I was like, man, the Bears are about to make a long run, and then they double doink their way out of the playoffs. So I think and that's
Go, Eli. Finish your point because I have a follow up.
I was gonna say maybe that's on me for the franchise of the Chicago Bears as I've seen them in playoff history since they made that Super Bowl against the Colts. But yeah, I'm just not gonna buy into this offense until I see it actually do something in the postseason.
So Eli, let me ask you this:
Yeah,
if you don't trust the Bears, who on this playoff field outside of the Rams do you actually trust? Do you trust Philadelphia?
I would trust Philadelphia if A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts decided that they were just going to, have a dinner and figure this out, and they were going to become friends again. But as of right now, the drama in Philadelphia, no, I don't trust anybody except for San Francisco.
Well, the thing is with Philadelphia and they beat the shit out of the Raiders today, I believe. They joined a very big club this season. With the Eagles, it seems to me that the way they need to win games is not the way they want to win games. When they're playing their best ball, it's Jalen Hurts not turning the ball over, doing very safe decisions, not a lot of deep passing, a lot of checkdowns, a lot of RPOs. It doesn't involve the two big-time receivers downfield as much as I think they would like. And what we've seen, the last couple of weeks, again, today notwithstanding, they won. They had lost 3 in a row coming into it. And we've seen some pretty good statistics come out of Smith, and Brown and all of those losses. So I think they're learning. And I don't know how the receivers are taking it because it seems like A.J. Brown would rather be Offensive Player of the Year on a 2-win team than the third receiver on a championship team. That's just kind of my vibe. But it seems like the receivers need to understand that maybe much like the 70s Steelers, we didn't need you that much to win games.
There's not a single team in this playoff field, for the exception of the Rams, that that I could say confidently, boy, they're going to win this conference and go to the Super Bowl. Even Green Bay, and Green Bay defensively didn't come through against Denver, and who knows? I mean, their receivers get injured every single week, so who knows? Brock Purdy in the playoffs. Do I trust Brock Purdy in the playoffs to win the conference and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl? I don't know. The Seattle versus NFC South winner, who the heck knows? I mean, both Seattle, Tampa, and even Carolina could all stumble their way into the playoffs. I mean, yes, somebody has to win that matchup, but then what? And then Philly's interesting. Chicago, I do understand Eli's points on Chicago. Can they actually do it in the postseason? And the Rams are just sitting. The Rams are the only team that have the complete package.
Yeah, I think we should look more at San Francisco, though, fellas. I'm going to be honest. And I do think, yes, Brock Purdy has to get it done when it comes down to an NFC Championship game. But we've talked a lot, when we do bring up the 49ers, about how Christian McCaffrey has stayed healthy for most of the year. In fact, I think this was one of the only weeks this year where we were like, is he going to play this week? And he ended up playing. But they have him. Kittle still playing very well, at tight end there, one of the best, if not the best tight end in the league. And then you have receivers that, it's not Brandon Ayuk. He's hurt. Debo's in Washington, but you have Ricky Pearsall stepping up. Jawan Jennings, who has been an experienced receiver with this team. Now, let's not forget that he has been in the Super Bowl with San Francisco before. So guys that have been there, Kyle Shanahan's made deep playoff runs. So if I were to say, to answer your original question, Doubly, if there was any team in the NFC that I feel like that could stop LA from getting straight to the Super Bowl, it's San Francisco, because they have that understanding of how to make a deep playoff run. Now it's just about getting over the hurdle and getting back to the Super Bowl.
Would you pick the Niners to beat the Eagles on the road in that wild card weekend?
Yes, I would. And it doesn't matter who's the quarterback. I think they could do it with Mac Jones. The Eagles, and that's not to say the Eagles talent-wise, I heard you, Rozycki. That's not to say the Eagles talent-wise aren't as good, if not better than the Niners. But it's to what we keep talking about when it comes up about Philadelphia. It's, okay, is A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts going to get along? Okay, they're getting along, so Jalen Hurts is going to throw the ball a lot to A.J. Brown. Probably one of the most he's been targeted in a game this year last week when he threw the 4 picks, and that's what happens. So I just think there's so much of a mess right now that I truly think San Francisco is the true contender to the Los Angeles Rams. That is it right now. I will say this, Rozycki, I know you have something to say. The only team that isn't in this playoff pool, though, that could be a direct threat to the Rams is a team they just played today, the Detroit Lions.
That's what I was going to say was, like if you want to look at anybody who's still alive right now, and that's basically the Cowboys on up in the standings, San Francisco is a worthy option for, and I do agree with the take, and I think it's a good question to ask of like who has the best chance of dethroning the Rams at this rate, because I think it's theirs to lose. The Niners are up there, but I think the Lions, if they can make it in, and it seems like the Lions, they're in a familiar spot in franchise history with fans going, well, if they can make it in, they'll be a tough team to play. That could be it. But right now, I think the gap between the Rams and everybody else is so big that it's almost if everybody holds up, if Matt Stafford stays healthy, I don't think it's going to be much of a debate. You got the coach, you got the quarterback, you got a defense, Statty talking about going out on your own terms. There's a chance I could see it happening where if they do go to the promised land and win their final playoff game of the season, he takes a page out of Jerome Bettis' book and just rides off into the sunset. So I think right now, Statty, I'm sure we're going to get to this in a minute, not to divulge what I'm going to say. Statty's your clear MVP in this league right now. I think it's really, him. I don't even know, maybe, there's a few other guys I'm sure that could make a case, but you got the MVP of the league. You got, one of the best coaches of the league who's been there, done that, and has lost it too. He knows the highs and lows of both of that, both the, sides of the Super Bowl. There's just, and with also too, with the fact, and this is the big thing, you mentioned all the quarterbacks before. If it's Chicago and Caleb Williams, if it's Tampa and Baker, if it's Sam Darnold in Seattle, if it's even Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Bryce Young, whatever. Stafford's the only one I trust out of those guys. That's the only one. Only one. So until he gives me a reason not to believe, I'm going to believe.
And to add to the Detroit Lions point, Rozycki, I think correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm looking at the tiebreakers, you're trying to do all the math, but the Lions have a chance because they play the Bears, one of their last games of the year, the last game of the year.
Bears.
Yep, the Bears. But the Bears play the Packers. They also play the Lions. If I'm not mistaken, there's a way that the Bears could play themselves out of the playoffs. Like, there's a way that, from 2 to out, Detroit would jump in, Green Bay would win the division. Like,
you look at it, you look at the NFC standings right now, the Packers are the last seed in right now at 9 wins. And now throw out whoever's going to win the NFC South. But, to get a wild card, you might be a 10-win team on the outside looking in, and that's something we've seen out of the 17-game schedule. 10 wins doesn't mean quite as much as it used to. But, if Chicago loses, those 2 games especially, and they lose out, they're going to be 10-7, and all of a sudden, does that make the 7th seed?
Right, and the Double A's point about who's going to be flexed to primetime, Double A, that might be your primetime game right there. Detroit versus Chicago for a potential playoff spot.
It could be, and again, with Green Bay, them having Chicago and then Baltimore, these next couple of games, with Minnesota being the final game, 2 of those 3 games, the next 2, those are toss-ups in terms of who can win those games. Even the Ravens, they're going to be, as we talked in the AFC side of things, they're fighting for the AFC North. So that alone.
So much mediocrity.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's like, at the end of all this, with Kansas City being out, really opens the door for it. Somebody new has to emerge. Somebody new.
Especially if Lamar's down too. Especially if Lamar is sitting there, because Yeah. It's somebody new or Josh Allen. Figure your shit out right now because this is going to be the best opportunity you'll ever have.
Because real quick, even if we're talking in the NFC, if you say, all right, Philadelphia and San Francisco, the two teams that have won the conference recently, that have been there and done that, they, as of right now, they're facing each other in the wild card round. As of right now. So they're going to knock themselves out. And then one of those two teams and the Rams are the only ones that's like, we've been here before.
Yeah.
So you're going to have new blood.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a very interesting. But I think if anybody can do it, it's Shanahan. I really do. He's been wrote off on the NFC side, and then the AFC side. I think with Allen, the more I keep hearing it, because I talked last week, I said the Bills are, essentially frauds when it comes to. I just am not bought into it. I know they won today. I'm not bought into the Bills, and this is going to be this is the year. Like we keep saying for Josh Allen, but you want to talk about when we look back and talk about your career when you're done playing. We talk about the guys that could never get it done against Tom Brady in the AFC. We're talking about a guy who just came back today, and Phillip Rivers. He's one of them. And you look at it, this is going to be bad for Josh Allen. It will be a long, long offseason for Josh Allen if he can't get this done. He's the most seasoned in this entire AFC. I know we're talking NFC here for a moment, but he's the most seasoned.
Real quick, hot take on my end. Green Bay's not going to the playoffs.
Well, the other thing
I think that Michael Parsons injury, I think that injury is devastating.
And I don't think I think we just kind of alluded to it quick, but yes, Packers are fearing now, according to sources, that that Patrick Mahomes was not the only person to blow an ACL today. Micah Parsons feared to have a blown ACL, and Mahomes, you're a quarterback. He can come back a little quicker from something like that. But, you're talking about a defensive player who is used to being faster than everybody on the field and quicker than everybody on the field. That's going to be a big question mark for Green Bay, and I'm sure Jerry Jones is very happy now with his draft compensation.
Man.
Dude, I had read something. I believe it was Micah Parsons is the first ever player for his first 5 seasons to have 12 sacks every year. I mean, I know we talk about Myles Garrett, and we're always going to have our our Cleveland bias just a little here, saying he's the greatest, and I think he still is the greatest defensive end of this era. But Micah Parsons, well, sorry, Double, did you hear something? I could have swore we were talking about Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, the discussion between those two for being the best defensive end. And then, we can talk about the other guys like TJ Watt, and there's other guys in the discussion, but.
By the way, is TJ Watt okay?
Yeah, real talk. Yeah. What's going on?
He had a procedure done to repair a punctured lung. I don't know if it was a Tyrod Taylor Chargers situation, like a bad treatment or something, or because the Steelers are claiming that he was complaining about pain walking in the door. So I don't know, but he is going to be out on Monday against the Dolphins. He should be back and ready to go for the final couple games of the season. But that's a game that scares me because Mike Tomlin has never lost a home game on Monday night. And Tua Tagovailoa has never won a game that is over or under 45 degrees at game time. So all of that being said, I got a bad feeling I'm going to go to bed in a bad mood tomorrow night.
Where's your panic meter if the Steelers lose tomorrow? And I'm saying lose by 10.
Well, they wouldn't be in the playoff. They wouldn't be number one in the division at that rate. So I'd be a little worried. I mean, we're now relying on Baltimore to screw something up here, but right now, not really that worried because again, we do have that head-to-head to finish the season. But just as long as we are either with them or a game behind them or whatever, as long as we're close and we can win the tiebreak, I'm fine with that.
All right, just checking there, just checking. Hey.
They don't have the oldest quarterback in the league anymore, though.
Fair. That's why you're rooting for Phillip
The
Rivers.
young Aaron Rodgers. Shut up. You got to be kidding me.
Hey, I'm rooting for Phillip Rivers because he is the only NFL player who is older than me. I am 43 years old. This might be the last time I can experience something like this. So I'm going to root for the old guy.
Fair.
Tom Brady did mention, he was asked, could you make a comeback run?
And bro.
And he said He said, I'm not allowed to. That was the answer. I'm not allowed to. He's the minority owner of the Raiders. So that was the only
have a quarterback problem. Who would you take next week under center if you are the Raiders? Next week, doing exactly what Phillip Rivers did. Kenny Pickett or Tom Brady? A 48-year-old, 49-year-old Tom Brady?
Man, you want to
Who would you take?
You want to have the most eyes on Raiders football they've had all season? You put Tom Brady back under center.
If the question was not the Raiders, if it was a team in contention for the playoffs and they needed a quarterback, I would pick up Tom Brady. Kenny Pickett, I understand what they're doing. Younger guy, they're trying. Whatever.
Kenny Pickett is so bad the Browns didn't want him.
No. That's not true. I wish you were right. But I really do. I really wish you were correct there. Kenny Pickett was actually in line to start here. That's the saddest thing.
Yeah, and then they got him out of town.
He was – if Kevin Stefanski had it his way and he wasn't injured during training camp, Kenny Pickett would have started here.
Kevin Stefanski, the wise and sage quarterback appraiser that we've all known to grow and love. So.
I didn't say it was a smart decision. I was just saying what was trending.
I get
that. Hey, buddy, you want to coach at Michigan? You want a job there? I heard
at this rate, it seems like if you work at Michigan, you got a pretty good chance of getting fired in the midst of scandal. So, yeah, I mean, do we want to hit this one right now, or do we want to take a break and process everything before we talk about the? And I honestly, when we were getting this, getting the show ready to go, this Sherrone Moore story with Michigan, I don't, and we will get into it. We'll get into the details next break. I thought that we had covered it last week. There has so much that happened. I thought it had been 10 days, 11 days since all of this have gone down. But this was so tumultuous, so up, so high, so low, moving around here that, dude, it's been Tuesday. That's when all of this stuff was going down. But do we want to talk about this a little bit and tease it, or do we just want to go to break? I know we wanted to talk a little NFL MVP too, but we can save that for next week.
I think the MVP is kind of. I think, and we could do a full ranking next week. I think you might be right on Matthew Stafford. Drake May probably went from first to second, but I think honestly, if you guys want to, we can just get right into it.
And what, the Moore stuff?
Sherrone Moore.
Yeah, just get right into it. That's what he did. He got right into it.
Oh,
he got right into the end of the marriage.
I have a feeling I got to move my car. Ironically enough, can we take a quick break and then we will?
That's fine. I got to use the restroom. That's cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, everybody go pee. Go get a slice of pizza. Move your car. Do whatever you need to do. But yeah, we'll take a quick break. And then we will talk about the worst week that a coach on any level. Well, no, there's one in Virginia who's having a really bad one too. But the worst week any Division I head coach has ever had. Straight up. I don't think we can make it. I don't think there's a number 2. We'll get into that and a few other news and notes, time permitting, here on the main event. We got Eli Moon, Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki. This is the Inside Edge Podcasting Network, and we will be right back. Stick around for sure.
As we all now know, defendant was at some point on Wednesday afternoon fired from his employment. He then, at some point soon thereafter, came to her apartment in the address that is alleged in the complaint, barged his way into that apartment, immediately then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life. And a series of very, very threatening, intimidating, terrifying, quite frankly, statements and behaviors there in that apartment. It was only then, Your Honor, when the victim, she called her attorney and then at some point indicated she was going to call the police, and then he left. And so, Your Honor, while I understand that there isn't evidence to suggest that he directly threatened the victim with any of those implements that I've indicated, the totality of the behavior is highly threatening and highly intimidating. She was terrorized, Your Honor. And in light of the totality of all of those circumstances, we consider a risk to public safety, a risk to this victim. And it's for those reasons that we are asking for those specific conditions. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions that the court may have, or give you further information. I appreciate it.
I want to go ahead and clear that up, that was not me who said that. I do have a group of people working over on Twitter, as well as a assistant that no longer works for me. I think one of them ended up feeding that story to them. I have not been on that Twitter at all. So when I heard about it was over on Instagram because of New York Post, and I was like, wait, what is going on right now? I never ever said this, nor did I confirm this. The foursome part is absolutely not true. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to clear that up because that part was crazy. He was DMing me, he was messaging me. But yeah, it wasn't because I inserted myself. I was kind of like dragged into the drama. It was always friendly conversations between us. It was never anything crazy like that. He did offer multiple times to fly. He was like, I would fly you out first class. I just really want to meet you. I would love to hug you. Just like little innocent things like that, like nothing crazy. It was never anything sexual. For the championship game, I took myself to the championship game with my sister. Nobody took me to that game. He didn't buy the tickets. He didn't give me the tickets. But during the game, we were messaging. And then after the game, I think they were staying at the Hilton in downtown. He was like, you should come, just like a fan. And then I'll let you take pictures with the guys, and then we can like take some pictures. But yeah, that is true. He did try to get me to come over to the hotel. Yeah. I'm being called like a clout chaser and all of this. And if I really wanted to out him, I would have outed him when they were here for the championship, and he was trying to get me over to the hotel where all the players were, where he was at. And I was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. So yeah, if I really wanted to out him, I would have done it. So like back when they won the championship, when everything was blowing up. I never met with him in person. Although I'd been to multiple of the games that he was at, I never ever met him in person. No. It didn't go any better whenever he was messaging me after, getting out of jail. Like that part was crazy. Something about the lines of like, I can't believe you would wait to attack me like that. I just want to say that I'm focused on God and family for now, and I wish you nothing but the best. And have a good night, or something along the line. But I was like, I did respond to him, and I was like, at no point did I attack you, or was I waiting to attack you? I was just clearing up my name because I'm being dragged through the mud just as much as you are. But yeah, he was like, I'm just focusing on God and I'm focusing on family and to better myself. And I was like, okay, well, I'm happy for you. I hope it works out for you. He was never like bad, like rude or anything towards me. So I just hope he gets the help that he needs. That's it.
Bro, that's a bad week, man. Whenever you got an OnlyFans model talking about your relationship, bro, okay, yeah, that was the OnlyFans model that was accused anyway of propositioning Sherrone Moore for game tickets for what, sexual favors, we'll just call it with that, group-oriented activities. There's a whole lot to unpack here. I guess long story short, the former Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore was fired with cause on Tuesday. And almost simultaneously, while that news was being made public by the university, Sherrone Moore was engaged in an incident that resulted in charges anyway that are third-degree home invasion, stalking, breaking and entering without breaking. And he was held on a $25,000 bond, spent Tuesday night in a holding cell, and was released. I'm at a loss for words on this one, gentlemen, because I don't think I've ever seen this happen graphically this bad with a high-level coach in the NFL, Division I, wherever. But yeah, Sherrone Moore and Michigan in the news for really all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, not a good week if you were a recruit, signing to Michigan. Not a good week to be anyone involved on the staff with Michigan. Just not good. I mean, obviously we were talking a week ago. The biggest thing Sherrone Moore had to worry about heading into the offseason here was beating Ohio State. And now this guy will never get a job again. I mean, like, at least coaching, you know what I'm saying? And I just think that's crazy. Like you said, Rob, there's so much to unpack. The OnlyFans model, I think, what, Mia Sorority, AA? Just to get
That's what
proper.
that was, yeah.
Okay, Mia Sorority.
But TNG Sports had the exclusive today.
Thank you. Yes, nod to them on the video. But, it's what relationship? Rob, it's like, you're like, do you want to talk about the relationship? But what relationship? Because it seems like there was so many of them for Sherrone Moore. He was playing the craziest game of catfish, and it's just mind-blowing.
Well,
I just think my thought is, first off, on the situation, crazy no matter when it happens. But I think it's also, like, just for a moment on, like, the football side of things, it is unfortunate for the people that just signed there. I mean, obviously they can completely revoke it and go somewhere else, but it's like, man, what timing and what a crazy story.
Yeah, well, Michigan's looking for a head coach now when everybody has kind of found their guy, especially the frontline candidates. To unpack this whole thing before we truly delve into this, and all three of us get going down the rabbit hole on this one. Sherrone Moore was fired on Tuesday for an inappropriate relationship with a staffer, not that OnlyFans model. Let's make that clear. A different person altogether.
Right.
When he was fired after that, allegedly he went over to the woman's house, to his side piece's house, to confront her. A knife was involved. Threats were involved to himself and her. And that's what proned the arrest. That's what proned him basically being under protective custody, actually, Tuesday night. Where we saw a guy basically lose his job. His marriage is on the rocks, I'm sure. And as to Eli said, like, the financial security that he was going to enjoy with this job is gone. That the contract's gone, and he is not going to get rehired anytime soon. I went off a couple weeks ago about Art Briles getting rehired. He won a lot of games. He won. He knew, there were things that he was good at. And teams would get desperate enough to get that underneath, in their locker room. Sherrone Moore hasn't done any of that. So there's no juice for this squeeze. So yeah, I mean, he'll be lucky if he's doing, if he gets a offensive coordinator gig at a Division III high school here in Ohio. Like, he's done.
Well, and I'm sorry, Double, I know you got a lot to unpack. Just to touch on that point real quick, Rob, it's what, you talk about Art Briles, but what high school would want Sherrone Moore around?
That's what I was going to say.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, we talk about Art Briles, but we're unpacking, and I know AA, presented this to us, I mean, we were going to talk about it regardless, but AA said, we got to talk about this. This is crazy. And it's like, you look at, we're talking about a dude who was a married man with a family. Thank you. Exactly. A family, Rob. And it's, we're talking about multiple relationships. It's sickening, obviously, I don't know. Like, a part of me, just as a human being, hopes he figures it out. And, he did say he's going to try to focus on God and family. I don't know what the exact family life looks like after all this mess, but ultimately, I hope he figures it out just as a human being. But this is a disaster. It's a stain on the University of Michigan, a huge stain after they've already had stain after stain over the last few years. And AA, I know you got a lot to say, but just I'm just I'm hoping for peace for everybody that it was affected by the situation, because that's just crazy, Yeah.
Overall, everyone involved, like, this just sucks. I mean, it just sucks because, again, you're talking about, first off, the women that were involved in all this. I mean, that's one thing. And then for Sherrone Moore, you got to think too, all those homes you're going into in terms of recruiting and selling a program, with, young men, trying to grow and, become, what they can be, not just on the football field, but post-college, what can they, you look to your head football coach as a model for, what a man.
Especially at a place where Michigan man is a moniker that is worn, that is talked about. Being a Michigan man is something.
Yeah, and you really can't, it got out of hand. It really did. It got out of hand.
Yeah.
And we don't know, and I know that's it did get out of hand. But it's, you do wonder, man, with great power comes great responsibility, that old Spider-Man line. But that's so true, right? When you are, and that's the thing, when you're a young coach like he is, with great power comes great responsibility, and he let temptation destroy it all.
Well, and I think that's why too, and I know a lot of people have had opinions on, race, on a lot of intent, just things that can't be changed. My opinion is just what you said, Double A H. Sherrone Moore is 5 years younger than me, 4 years younger than me, 5 years younger than Philip Rivers. He is a young dude to be holding up and leading $1 billion brand, that has, massive implications for a lot of people. We're talking about, athletic department budgets. We're talking about a lot of pressure from a lot of different angles for somebody in that throne. You look at Nick Saban down in Alabama. He was well into his 50s when he got that job. Kirby Smart, he was not a young assistant when he got the Georgia gig. You look at a lot of these established coaches of these big time, big ass programs. Urban Meyer, when he grabbed Ohio State, was in his, I think, late 50s. He was a little younger at Florida, but, still, these guys had a lot of stops. Urban Meyer, even though he might have been in his early 40s when he grabbed Florida, had coached at Utah, had coached at BG. He had multiple stops. This was a Michigan man who knew nothing more than the University of Michigan. I'm not knocking that, but he was very underdeveloped when it came to experience of leading a program. And anytime you're leading something like that, it's, again, you're talking about livelihoods, you're talking about staff, you're talking about the athletic, department people, you're talking about a lot of money being dependent upon you fielding a good team, let alone being available to coach. And I think Michigan, in a haste to replace Jim Harbaugh and try to keep the good times rolling with that philosophy, kept Sherrone Moore around and, basically, kind of ignored some red flags that could be popping up, because this investigation, from what the reporting has been done, at least with Michigan, this investigation has been going through last summer. So they have known maybe something has been brewing. They may not have known what, but, Michigan chose to ignore that and just kind of keep the good times rolling and try to keep everything that they wanted to, all the momentum with Harbaugh. And they just, they hired somebody who was a little underqualified for the gig.
Well, from all accounts, when you hear, people within the Michigan organization, Rich Eisen, who's a Michigan alum.
That reaction flabbergasted, because it was more, his reaction to that was the same that, the house with Amanda Berry in it. The neighbors would, I didn't know. Oh my God, I had no idea. That was same kind of reaction.
He mentioned, he was like, the moment we lost to Ohio State, Michigan, the moment they lost, I got 3 or 4 text, major text messages from people like, about this? About this? And this would have stayed undercover, by the way, had they beat Ohio State.
Or if that recruiting class was a little better.
That the OnlyFans model that we played coming back in. This is all allegedly. This from her account. She didn't mention nothing was mentioned when they won the championship a couple years back. Nothing was mentioned. I think your point, though, Rob's interesting, because I'm looking at his coaching record. Sherrone Moore. He was a grad assistant at Louisville, 2009, 2010. Then tight ends coach. Then he went to Central Michigan. But he's been at the Michigan program since 2018. Tight ends coach. Then offensive line. Offensive
sounds like it was a Harbaugh hire. Yeah.
But to your point, Michigan never looked outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a major, major, major job.
Well, Michigan's weird with that, because I think the last outside guy, the last dude who wasn't a quote unquote Michigan man to take that gig was Rich Rodriguez, and that went horrible. So I think they're always a little scared to kind of go outside the network here. But to your point, they just kind of stayed completely in the program and just promoted from within on that one. I think he was the sitting defensive coordinator when all the
he was the interim head coach. sorry, Rob, not to interrupt you, but he was the interim head coach as well when Jim Harbaugh served his suspension. So he was always next in line if they were going to go that way. And to your point, you made a very good point, Rob. And I don't get used to that because I hate that. But
save the tape.
Yeah. Ooh. But I will say this. You make a very good point about Sherrone Moore. And like also to add to that, the national championship. He had already got the taste of being the top guy just for a moment when Jim Harbaugh was on suspension. And it was still Jim's team. He was coaching. I get it. But he had that moment. Sherrone Moore walked into the ideal situation. You have a winning streak against Ohio State. You have a national championship. You just paid huge NIL money to bring in. I know Bryce Underwood looked not good this year for Michigan, but you bring in the number one quarterback prospect-wise, recruit-wise, to Michigan. This guy has the ideal situation, and it's just crazy how it all just vanished like that.
But for a 39-year-old man, is that enough? Like, in terms of how you're looking at your life.
He has a family too, though. He already has a family, AA. So, like,
I know.
Here's my thing. Here's where I would say. If Sherrone Moore is a single man, now him crashing out with a knife and everything, unacceptable. Like, I'm not talking about all what transpired, but him messing around, whatever, talking, the staffer stuff, my parents taught me a very valuable lesson when I was younger. You don't shit where you eat. So you shouldn't be messing around with the staffer. Also, it not a good look. But if he was a single man and he was just, out there and the big talk was he was just a bachelor, we'd be looking at this a lot differently. But Sherrone Moore acted the way he acted because he had so much to lose and realized in that moment, like Rob talked about at the beginning of this segment, that he just had a oh shit moment. It's all crashing down.
It was a meltdown.
Correct, because he has his family. He has, his wife and his daughters. He has the Michigan job. So AA, he already had the family life, the perfect ideal coaching situation. I don't know what else you could want.
No. You're right. I'm not arguing that point.
Okay.
Because you're 100% right.
Yeah. But
something in his head said that's
More.
Still not enough. And I'm not justifying it at all. But something in his head said that's not enough. And he still went on and did what he did.
I think
that's
I think you could probably throw this kind of in the psychology, like with Joe Pa at Penn State, Art Briles, something like that. And, of course, with those two guys, we're not talking about the actual behavior of those two. We're talking about behavior they were tolerating. When you're a Division I head coach, especially at a job that is a terminal job, you don't leave Michigan to go to another college gig normally. You're at a job that you plan on retiring at. You're the Duke, you're the prince of that little fiefdom. You are in charge. You have absolute power. In the case of Briles and Joe Pa, they use that power to cover up some pretty gnarly shit. In the case of Sherrone Moore, he's using that power to do some gnarly shit. And when you're that guy in that town, and Sherrone Moore, like I would like to know what would have happened if he was winning consistently while these 2 years have been going down, as opposed to just kind of a flirting with bowl eligibility here. Because when you're in charge and you can do whatever you want, sometimes you abuse it. I think one of the reasons why Sherrone Moore was doing this is because he could. Is because he, for a while he was getting away with it. He could go on OnlyFans or Instagram or whatever platform he wanted to, talk to a model or two. He had the money to fly him in, fly him out, do whatever he wanted to do with them. He could just do it. And I think that goes again to the lack of experience and to the lack of maturity involved. When you got these other coaches involved that I just talked about, the greats of the great, they're CEOs. They understand. They know that there's a way you can act in public. There's a way you can act, bachelor or not. Urban Meyer, screwed that up when he was with the Jags, and we got the shots of him at the bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's ultimately why he was going to lose it, because the credibility was gone. The professionalism was gone. And when even if you are a single dude, if you're walking into these 19, 20-year-old kids, high school kids' living rooms, and you can pretty much prove through the internet that this head coach is a sex addict, that really doesn't do well for you. There's a way you got to act when you're in charge of something that big. NFL quarterbacks deal with the same kind of thing. How many times Baker ran into problems. Shador's running into problems because he doesn't act like the corporate quarterback. With college sports, you kind of need to, because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of pressure, and obviously there is a lot of unchecked power. And when you don't have anybody to check you, that's when you can get into really, really bad situations.
And it's a bad look. I mean, just for a moment, because obviously, this is a serious human being matter. Just for a moment, football-wise, this is the demise of Michigan. In a Big Ten that we're seeing Indiana and Kursignetti starting to take over. And I mean, Ohio State's still the big dog. Let me rephrase. But there is a moment where we could see Indiana really step into that stride where, kids aren't opposed to going to Bloomington, where they play football.
Good
Bloomington,
job.
Indiana. Thank you.
Not that far away from Michigan, by the way.
Correct. That's all I'm saying. And, and I mean, I know the Spartans, look, I know we got past Fitzgerald, and we might win like 6 games next year, and we might start getting, Michigan State might start getting some. This is going to be big on a football scale too, and I know we'll have months to talk about that. Obviously, big thing here is it was messed up what Sherrone Moore did, but football wise, Michigan, you are getting further and further away from national championship contender. Every day we keep moving on.
And we talked on this show, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, if even just from a football standpoint, which major D1 head coach before all this was breaking would have hired Sherrone Moore for their opening. And would have looked at it and said that's perfect.
Yeah, and that's when it comes down to the rehireability of Sherrone Moore. Like, again, Art Briles won conference titles, has a resume, did it at multiple spots, was a hell of a play caller, hell of an offensive mind. Sherrone Moore really has nothing with that. He was basically people are going to look at it now as a legacy hire that, he wouldn't have got the job except for the fact that he was in the right spot at the right time. And when you start talking about the football side of it, the one thing that Michigan's going to luck out with is that Penn State was having the worst offseason in college football before Michigan got involved. They couldn't find their head coach. They missed I think they didn't have a head coach for National Signing Day. So, they're about as behind as Michigan is right now without the bullshit. If you don't want to.
Let me ask you guys this.
Sandusky stuff.
Right. Let me ask you guys this. This is truly a what if now due to timing. Let's say this had been a breaking story a few weeks ago, and Michigan had an opportunity to hire Lane Kiffin. Was this job more attractive or the LSU job?
LSU.
I think LSU still. I don't know if you had a point there, Rozycki, but I would just say
Louisiana's a better recruiting base. That's what I was going to say.
Yep, and I was going to say SEC. He's already familiar. I think he would rather stay where he's familiar at, personally. But Michigan's an interesting gig. I mean, for whoever wants it. If they didn't have 100 scandals, it feels like. I mean, my goodness.
Well,
signs.
Yeah, how can you trust the AD?
Yeah.
How can you trust
and even other than and that's I think the other prong on this too. Ward Manuel is the AD up there. He was actually the chair of the college football committee the year that Michigan won. And he's got to be feeling it right now because it's not just the football program. This goes back 3-4 years. Juwan Howard was having some issues as the head coach there. He struck a Wisconsin assistant, had a lot of, deal with that, was not fired somehow, still kept his job. You had the Michigan hockey coach. He was fired in a missed scandal. There were some issues with that. They did finally get rid of Juwan Howard for even more scandal. But yeah, you throw in the sign stealing thing with the football program. Remember the computer access crimes at Schembechler Hall back in the day? I think it was 2023. They lost their offensive coordinator back then. There has been a shit ton of scandals across this athletic department. And the weird thing is, it's not the players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the players, they could be doing God knows what. Just because we haven't heard about it doesn't mean nothing's happening. But right now, the players, they're quieter than a church mouse. It's the staff that doesn't know how to keep it in their pants or doesn't know how to play by the rules or doesn't know how to keep their hands to themselves. It's the staff that's having the problems. And how many more of these have to happen before the, dreaded 4 words that you hear in college sports, lack of institutional control, is going to be talked about. So, if Michigan, at this rate, at this point in time, you might be looking for a new AD soon, because this has got to stop. Again, this is a school that did conduct themselves with honor and dignity and class. I know we could say everything else in Ohio about it with the rivalry, but this is a pillar of college sports here. They can't be doing this shit.
Yeah, and I know I just briefly spoke about Bryce Underwood, the quarterback, the true freshman that played for Michigan this year, and he wasn't great. But he's a very sought-after prospect, and like I said, he was a freshman. So who is to say where that guy goes? You know what I'm saying?
You don't think Caleb DeBoer? You don't think Lane Kiffin is sitting in the parking lot in some dorm room in Ann Arbor waiting for Bryce to walk out? Lane Kiffin, because he is so honorable. But you got all of these. Kirby Smart could be looking. Yeah. I mean,
Indiana, because their Heisman quarterback is going to the NFL.
You know what? The only thing that I wish was that Julian Sain was a graduating senior, because Ohio State coming in there to grab that quarterback would just be the icing on this cake.
Hey, I don't want to. I know we're near the end of the show here. We got a few more things to button up here before we get out here. Rob, I don't want to stray away from the show. You did bring up Lane Kiffin for a moment, and I just want to say he is an honorable guy. Did you see he was offering up some of the assistants from LSU to go coach for Ole Miss? Help him practice and everything. I just want to say not many coaches would do that, so I just want to say kudos to Lane Kiffin. We got to give respect where it's due. Am I right or am I right?
Well, I do give him respect for that, but let's also forget, remember too that Memphis and James Madison had both lost their coaches. They were allowed to coach in the for their respective schools all the way through the playoff now. So, I mean, Lane Kiffin, I mean,
and Brian Hartline, University of South Florida coach.
Yeah. Going to Boca, baby. Going to Boca.
Yeah.
If he wins 7 games, he'll be in the Boca Bowl every year he's there. So it'll be great.
Again, we'll have more, no pun intended, on this story. I believe that the next hearing is January. Hold on, I have it up here. It is January 22nd.
Well, and with that felony home invasion, he could be looking at time.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Actual time.
Oh, yeah. We played a clip during our commercial from his hearing. You're talking about that ain't a normal crash out. I mean, you're talking about threatening, other people's lives, your life. Kids are involved too. He needs help.
And
the women need help more so to him. That's the big
Well,
issue.
what I was going to say, and it seemed like, obviously his assistant was early 20s college student. Even though she is a college student, she is a grown adult and can make her own decisions. Sherrone Moore is definitely a adult who can make his own decisions. Do I agree with, basically, the fallout of this? It is absolutely horrible for everybody involved on that side. But they all had decisions that they made that got them there. The people that I truly feel bad for are Sherrone's wife, his 3 daughters, who were just innocent players in all this. And now, especially wife, has to go online and go on the news and open the newspaper, and her husband's sex life that she didn't know about or maybe she knew. I don't know at this rate. I can't presume anything. But either way, private details about their marriage, about their relationship, about their daughters, it's out there now. And if their daughter, I don't know how old his oldest is, but if they're old enough, they're hearing about this in school. They're hearing about this from classmates. And they are the 4 people in this whole equation that didn't fuck up. The other 2 people did. Now you can argue about the fallout being too severe or not severe enough in some cases, but you can't argue with the fact that both those people fucked up.
And allegedly, and Sherrone, allegedly, I don't, reports don't know if this is true or not. Apparently, when, he was free on Friday, again, kind of played the clip a little bit, head up an OnlyFans model, even on Friday. So how much does Sherrone Moore even learn now?
Well,
again, allegedly. But if that's true,
and you know what? I'll actually say that for what I've learned here. We'll get into that here too.
Nice.
But yeah, this whole process did show me something that we need to get a whole lot better at as a people, especially in 2025.
real quick, interesting fact that we have learned in general. I'm going to share with you from Twitter. Tom Brady, in his 8th season in the NFL, was going for his
1994.
Yeah, all the way back in the stone ages of the National Foosball League down in Canton, Ohio. Going for his
TV.
Yeah, right. His 8th season with the Patriots, he was going for his 4th Super Bowl ring. He lost in the Super Bowl. That would be Super Bowl 42 to the Giants. Mm-hmm. In season 9, he injured his knee. Patriots missed the playoffs.
They had a 10-win season with Matt Castle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, season 8.
Oh, wow.
Going for his 4th championship ring, lost in the Super Bowl to the Eagles. Patrick Mahomes, season 9, injures his knee, team misses the playoffs.
Wow.
So
also, what we have learned is that Patrick Mahomes in the year 2045 will be the lead color commentator for Fox Sports.
That's horrible at it, while owning the Raiders, but not really.
Is that what you learned this weekend, AA?
No, I just caught that. I'll tell you what I learned a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I learned a lot this weekend.
Do we want to get into that, or do we got, we can talk about, I know you guys were going gaga over the last time was yesterday, John Cena's last match. I wanted to at least get that in to throw a bone to both of you gentlemen, AA with the Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast and Eli Moon with just a good old-fashioned wrestling addiction.
I think it's worth discussing a little bit. I think for a lot of people here locally in Cleveland, all-time bad weekend because every one of their favorites lost.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool because I never heard 19,000 people chant "You fucked up."
Yeah.
Dude, they were on one. They were on one. I thought, we talked a little bit before the show. Obviously for the people out there tuning in, I'll say it again. I didn't have any problem with John Cena's retirement match. And I know the social media outbursts of, well, it should have been, yes, and maybe it should have been Carmelo Hayes or somebody else. Sure, I'll hear you out there. But guess what? Gunther was in the ring, and I got a few points here. Thank you for bringing this up, Rozycki. Because first point is this, because I don't do the Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast, so AA will have a whole hour or so to talk to you about it.
We got the whole 2 hours, Kyle and I, on Thursday.
Exactly. And an hour will be spent on the story of the last time. I'm just kidding. But first thing first, can we stop acting like Gunther is so bad? It's got to the point where it's like Gunther slander. He doesn't deserve to be in any slot. He wasn't the World Heavyweight Champion heading into Mania. And I think the Jey Uso sleeper hold at Mania has done really a bad job on Gunther to where they're trying to repair him. But aside from that, John Cena, I can understand if you're mad if he tapped out. I can understand the smile and whatever, and you could poke a bunch of different things. I appreciated it for what it was, which was my childhood, AA's childhood. Rob, I know you grew up, still saw Cena's whole career.
21 when he debuted.
I was gonna say, not necessarily childhood, but you're still there with us. And at the end of the day, it's we saw John Cena do his whole thing, and I just appreciated it for what it was. Was it the greatest match of all time? No. Was it a good match? Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good match, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and it got me in my feels, man. I wasn't gonna sit there and cry in front of AA and Kyle at the Kyle's house yesterday, but I mean, if I go back and watch that again, I might cry because it was legit. Dang, man, I'm getting old. Because John Cena's retiring, Tom Brady's retired, LeBron eventually. That's my thoughts.
Buddy.
Yeah. It's so that was my thoughts on John Cena. It's just I thank you, John Cena, for filling my childhood and teenager years and even my adult life with a lot of fun. And best of luck to you, whatever you do. And Yeah, WWE needs to listen to the fans, though. That's the last thing I'll say. Is they need to listen to the fans. They think right now it's all sweet because they're making all this money, but at the end of the day, there is no more John Cena well to go back to. A lot of these wells are going to start drying up. Randy Orton, CM Punk eventually, AJ Styles. So they got to start creating stars and listening to the fans, because wrestling, as opposed to like, okay, NFL, we can be like, come on, put the Lions in. It doesn't matter. The Lions have to get there. But in wrestling, if we believe enough, they'll get there. And
that's the tough thing. If you look
at that one, yeah.
Right. If you looked at it even from a sports standpoint, the ultimate dream book storyline in football would have been Josh Allen finally beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Right. Like, exercise the demons.
Right. But in to tie in an earlier point, if Josh Allen goes in these playoffs and wins the Super Bowl, somebody out there will say, well, he didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. And I think something like that is important even in terms of wrestling, because Rob and we talked about it on TAM yesterday. The time-honored tradition of when you lose or when you leave a territory, whatever, you leave on your back staring at the lights as the new superstar emerges. Mm-hmm. And I venture to say, and Rob, I don't know if you had streaming issues with Peacock on your end, but the stream was a little bit choppy on my I
literally it timed out where I walked in the door after my show, turned on the TV at 20 till 10 and watched just that. So I was fine.
I have to imagine, and I don't think I'm out of line in saying this may be in the modern era, perhaps the most watched pro wrestling event in the modern era.
Yeah.
Because everybody, whether you watch wrestling or not, everybody knows who John Cena is. The goal of last night, the goal of last night was for everybody watching to know who Gunther is and to know that you should hate him. And I think that in itself, that mission was accomplished.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially, he was the one who retired Goldberg, too. So, yeah, that might be the only reason why people are getting a little iffy with Gunther, because I like Gunther. He's kind of a throwback. But, does he have the clout to be the guy that retired Goldberg and now John Cena? That's, pretty lofty area to be, that's legend killer Randy Orton territory here to kind of be in. What I didn't like about, well, first off, to your point, Double A, about being highly watched, I think John Cena is probably, and they could obviously create a new one, a new front guy, but he's really the last wrestler that's in mainstream movies and, that your average person knows. I think if you were to talk to somebody my age who never really watched wrestling, name 3 wrestlers: The Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena. I don't think that's a crazy list to say, but to your point of what to do next and the wells drying up, Eli, the WWE is going to have to think about that pretty soon. Yeah, because Randy Orton, I think he is my age. I think he's in the early 40s. He is definitely a whole lot closer to the end than the beginning. You got LA Knight. I know he's around it. He's there. He's not a spring chicken. CM Punk's not a spring chicken. You got a lot of guys and a lot of stars in their 40s right now, and that's not a good spot to be in, especially while you're trying to grow this thing worldwide and take over the planet. But I guess the one thing I would say about the match itself, I liked it. I thought it was, to borrow a very tired wrestling journalist's system, I'd say I'd give it about 3 stars. But the only thing I really didn't like about the match, and this is just a picky thing, there was 15 false finishes in the last 6 minutes of that match. It was just finisher after finisher, break, 2 count after 2 count after 2. I'm like, okay, we know. We could just finish this.
But that's tame.
That's about the only complaint I had for the match.
That's tame, though, Rozycki, compared to
we didn't even get to AEW levels of it.
That's what I'm saying.
If Kenny Omega was involved, they'd still be having false finishes while we're talking right now.
Yeah, and obviously, first
believe me, I'll hear about that on Thursday.
Yep. And don't get me wrong, look, guys, 10 years from or before, 18-year-old Eli Moon would be smiling, and I'm just smiling thinking of that we're having a wrestling conversation just this deep of a conversation about wrestling. I will end my wrestling thoughts and leave the rest for Double A the Professional on Thursday. And Kyle, got to give Kyle Cornell his flowers as well. But I will say this, Rozycki, we keep talking about it in WWE. We talked about it, the well drying up. WWE has the opportunity. They have Javon Evans, who was on that Saturday night's main event. I know you said you only caught the main event, Rozycki, but Javon Evans and Leon Slater had a great tag team match against AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. And that, him, Slater, we were talking a little bit about the Slater move to WWE. He's young, 21. They're both 21 years old, him and Evans. And they have some of these other guys that are hanging around. The problem is WWE just won't get uncomfortable again. Because that's when they started succeeding with the Roman bloodline and stuff, is when they got uncomfortable and started doing stuff that you weren't seeing on a Monday or Friday. Typically. You were seeing some crazy stuff, and that's what made it fun. You were seeing Roman defend the title against Sami Zayn on a Friday night SmackDown, random stuff. Ultimately, they just got to get uncomfortable again. I get Punk and Rhodes are your champions, and Cody Rhodes is now the top guy. If it wasn't clear now, it is. But they just got to get uncomfortable and give some of these young bucks the ball and let them run with it. That's why the OVW4 did so well. That's why some of these, the four horsewomen of Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and oh my goodness, Bailey, my favorite. How they could, how they.
Bailey. That's
18-year-old
you will kick you in the ball sack.
I was a hugger back then, and every now and then I'm still a hugger. But you got to give these guys the ball to run, Rozycki. Double. That's my final point on it. Is like they have the talent. The problem is in the era of signing the hot free agent, they're already 34, 35 years old. So how much of a run can they really make with the company?
Well, we'll be fair, and Kyle and I will obviously have a full breakdown of all this on Thursday. Tomorrow's a big night for Gunther. This is tomorrow night on Raw. It is a night where either they are ready to put the rocket on him and launch. Like, dude, you just did something that, you were the one that had the opportunity to retire the GOAT. You made people say F you after they spent $2,000 on tickets to travel to D.C. Grown men were chanting Super Cena. Grown men were chanting Super Cena. They did not want you to win that match. And you have an opportunity tomorrow night, Gunther, to say F all of us and be that guy that says, I'm going to be the guy that's going to lead WWE into the future, even as a massive heel.
I was going to say that's going to be the weird thing for the WWE because they have loved going all the way back to Vince Sr., the babyface champion. If it was, San Martino or Pedro Morales, going all the way up through Backlund and Hulk Hogan. Stan Stasiak was a brief champion kind of as a transition. He was a heel, but it was only about a 3-week long thing. Same thing with Sheiky, Iron Sheik, when he lost it to Backlund and then lost it to Hogan. They love their babyface champions going all the way back again to the 60s. So to have a heel be the lead and have a heel be the standard bearer, he's going to have to get a lot better with a microphone because, the one thing that the WWE has done with sports entertainment, I know Michael Cole said pro wrestling beat sports entertainment last night.
Yeah, that was interesting.
But the WWE, that's what happens when Michael Cole is celebrating 25 years with the company, and the one guy that could fire him is now, after allegedly pooping on people, no longer with the company. So that makes things easier when you're Michael Cole.
True.
But the WWE is still sports entertainment, and the leader of that company, the front man of that company, will have to be able to talk whenever he can. And I haven't seen that quite yet out of Gunther. I know you guys watch a whole lot more than I do. The wrestling I'm watching right now, I got Dick Murdoch and the Great Muta on. I think it was like 84 Jim Crockett.
Don't sleep on the Great Muta.
I like this match. I put this match on for a reason. We're fine.
Don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him.
And but that's Murdoch, dude. Murdoch, don't sleep on Murdoch either.
Is he okay? Sorry, but I know you have a point. Is Dick Murdoch and Trevor Murdoch related?
I don't think so.
That's a good question.
I don't think so. I think that's a little. No, I don't think that's. I can look it up as we talk, but I remember.
Man, that throws me back. Trevor Murdoch.
I'll make this quick while you look that up.
Former NWA champion Trevor Murdoch, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. To your point about Gunther, and to the casuals too, he has to be able to talk, massive. People may or may not remember this, but the culmination of John Cena becoming WWE champion, it came off of 9 months of John Bradshaw Layfield as WWE champion face of SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best heels of all time. One of the best talkers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole setup for this, Gunther may have the reign of terror, whatever. Who is the next babyface star that will take him down and become the face? Could that be a Javon Evans? Could that be, some of these other guys?
But my thing, Double A, and I know we probably already used our allotted time to talk to you about wrestling because, like I said, you have a wrestling podcast on the same network, the Inside Edge Network. Thanks, everybody, tuning in. But this is my question to you, and then I know we got to pivot to get out of here. But my question is, because you're out of all three of us, I would say we're looking from Rozycki to me to you. That is how much we watch wrestling. I'm like in the middle amount. Rozycki, a little less in the current product than you. So with Gunther, though, there's a log jam because Braun Breaker's the man. So what are you going to do? You got two heels. You got Braun Breaker going against Punk on the 5th at World Heavyweight title. And now you got Gunther with all this momentum, just beat the GOAT. And he's a heel. And they're both on Raw. There's one world title.
That's a good question. That's a great question. And I do think in the long run, I think Braun Breaker is a babyface in the making. He has that whole dog chant. He seems like a likable guy. He's just going to have to run through CM Punk. Gunther, I don't see a scenario in the near future where he ever turns babyface.
Right.
Like, he is a classic traditional heel. He is seemingly better than you, that kind of thing. Like,
right.
Gunther is in the role that he's in right now. The log jam will be interesting. I see a path, though, and Rob brought it up a few minutes ago. And you have as well, Eli. There's a ton of people that is in line to retire soon. Gunther has already retired 2 major stars. What if that is the role that he plays? In the ultimate,
into like a legend killer gimmick.
And who used to call himself the legend killer?
Randy. Oh, don't. Oh, no, my heart can't.
I rest my case.
John Cena just retired yesterday. Chill
By the
out.
way, for the record, did you guys notice that Randy Orton was not at the Saturday night main event? He was actually in Saudi Arabia, making some money over there. And I do have some breaking news. The Trevor Murdoch, whose real name is William Muller, is not related in any way to Dick Murdoch. Dick Murdoch, also in a breaking news story, may or may not have been in the KKK.
What the fuck? I don't ever drop the F-bomb. What?
Yeah. He was
Turn
trained
that
by a
match
wrestler
off.
named Killer Carl Cox. KKK was the initials for Killer Carl Cox, who at points in time was either in the Klan or very sympathetic to the cause of the Klan. So I don't think Killer Carl Cox would be turning on our podcast anytime soon. But Dick Murdoch, there was some rumors that he was in the KKK apparently, but there was also a lot of firsthand accounts that said he wrestled black guys all the time and had no problem with it. So we don't know. But yeah, that's your wrestling history lesson for today.
That all happened because I asked if Trevor Murdoch was related to Dick Murdoch, and I found out so much information.
Killer Carl Cox, by the way, Scott Steiner stole his gimmick. Cox would always talk to his imaginary friend on camera that no one could see. When Steiner started doing that, it was kind of an homage to Killer Carl.
I get freaks 9 days out of the week. It's only 7 days.
If you take my 33%,
I'm the big booty.
The big booty, baby daddy, whatever he said.
Prescription drugs will go down 9,000%. Wait, that's the wrong shit now. Never mind.
You listen, Samoa Joe.
Fun trivia question. Another one for you guys as we transition into what you have learned. Give me a season when is the last season where the AFC Championship game did not involve Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
The last one that it did not involve them. Damn. Brady went, and then, oh, man, AA. That's a good one. Hold on.
This season will be the first AFC title game without Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
I got
since insert season here.
2012. The Flacco year.
No, it's got to be 14.
I'm going to say the Flacco year.
Eli is closest. Eli's closer.
Were the Steelers involved? Was it that 08 run with the Steelers?
The Steelers were involved.
2011 with the Steelers against the Packers Super Bowl.
Yeah, correct. The 2010 season, Ben Roethlisberger.
The Steelers beat the Jets that AFC game.
The Steelers defeated the New York Jets,
Dude.
led by knife stabber, allegedly, Mark Sanchez.
Jeez almighty. AA.
Can you imagine how bad, you want to talk, if we could do an end of the year thing for worst week, for worst day of the year. And right now it's Sherrone Moore or Mark Sanchez right now that are going neck for neck on that one. Because could you imagine having the butt fumble being a part of your life and that's not the dumbest thing you did?
Dude, the first ever main event awards are about to be crazy.
Oh, man.
We'll have to get suits and ties and stuff and do it all hoity-toity here. But, we can put that on. We can definitely put a pin in that one and figure out if we want to do that either at the end of the year or say in the summertime when the only thing going on is baseball. That could also be a nice thing to kind of handle, knock that out, get a little programming note done in there. But yes, let's see. We have been on the air for a little over 3 hours and 10 minutes. I think it's probably a pretty good idea to figure out what the hell we learned today, gentlemen. Does either one of you want to take it first, or
I'll take it?
Okay,
I got it. Thank you so much, Rozycki. I appreciate you so much, and I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in. And I have some not officially breaking news yet, but we'll be breaking as soon as a few more players play in these games. Talked a lot about the NFL. I'd be remiss to not bring up the semifinal matchup we're looking at in our league. Now, for those that are tuning in at home, me, AA, and Rob all play in a fantasy football league with all of our buddies that we've grown close with throughout the years and remain close with. And AA, let's say, was not looking promising for a playoff position. And me, not being cocky here, folks, I'm a front runner. I'm the defending champion. I'll bring the title belt next week. It's sitting off to the side right now. What I will say is,
I thought
AA
had it.
No, I got it by middle of the week 5.
Okay, good.
But what I will say is AA, as a 7 seed, is about to upset Mac Robinson. It will score right now 121-85. AA and Mac having their last players play. It will end on Sunday night. So barring a miracle, AA will punch his ticket in. And I said, you know what? Let's make it a main event semifinal because I am waiting on the conclusion of the Sunday night game. And after that, it'll be final 195-100 over Tim Whalen. We are having a main event semifinal. AA just felt damn because AA, we're coming for you next week. Let's go. That's what I learned this weekend is we got a main event semifinal.
Hey, listen. I want to thank Kyle Pitts Sr. for the greatest fantasy football performance ever seen by a tight end on Thursday.
Dude, AA, bro.
45 points. 45 points, Kyle Pitts.
To put in context, and I will put a bow on what I learned this weekend with this. AA 3 weeks ago was looking for first-round picks because he was trying to rebuild. And now he is going to be one of the final 4 teams in this playoffs. So congratulations to you, AA. Congratulations to our show. Because obviously we just are we're excellent here in all assets of, and factors of life. So that's what I learned this weekend.
Thank you, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, dude, Mac was we almost booked Mac for the show, by the way.
Dude, I would have won by 5.
For like 5 seconds because I just wanted his opinion on tight end play.
Yeah.
Dude, I get a call at halftime. I get a halftime because by that point, Pitts had already had 30 points.
Oh, my God.
He's like, dude, did you even know Kyle Pitts was on your team? I was like, well, I did throw out. I was looking to trade him earlier in the year. Nobody would trade him. So he was on my team.
For this moment right here, Double A. I'm proud of you because the patience paid off. Usually you start trading your team when they underperform, and Kyle Pitts has underperformed quite a lot. But for you to keep on to him for this moment, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
The problem for that is it's like Damon Jones back in the day making a game-winning three. You got pissed that he did it. You won the game, and that's great and all. But that game-winning three now gave Damon Jones all the reason in the world to hoist up any shot he saw fit for the next 2 weeks. You're going to be stuck now chasing this dragon with Kyle Pitts, trying to find that first smack high again. And I don't know if you're going to be able to find it, and I hope it's this week. And really, I honestly don't have a rooting interest in this one. I just hope that one of you by the end of this is feeling pain.
Oh, yeah, we will.
I did make a signing, though.
Oh, did you?
Signing. I outbidded Rob on this particular signing.
Yeah, you put like half your fat down for the 44-year-old.
Phillip Rivers is on my squad, damn it.
When I looked at that, it was like Phillip Rivers had been bid on. I was like, okay, 300 fab, which is a lot of fab. Like, that's a lot of fab. And
I bid 15.
I know. Like, that's like double A has him.
But
that's a 3-year contract, I think. In the league.
Here's why. First of all, I had a ton of money.
Okay, $1 million.
A ton of fab money. Fab money. In real life, I ain't got nothing. But fab money, I had a ton. Number two, I got sick and tired of Ricky, our league leader, outbidding everybody over stupid players. And I needed a quarterback.
That's where you put your foot down was 44-year-old Phillip
Daniel Jones got hurt. I needed a quarterback. If Jacoby Brissett goes down, I have no quarterbacks. So I needed to ensure that I had a quarterback.
It's almost like you had Patrick Mahomes not too long ago. Well, that wouldn't help you this year.
Yeah, welcome to this.
I just, all right.
That's not a good one. That's not a good example. All right, here's what I learned. Two things. Number one, Real Talk with Papa Moon is an amazing show. Papa Moon is fantastic. I had an opportunity to be on his show. Eli produced the show. Great time. Enjoyed it. If you're able to check out the episode, please do. Not often I get to talk about myself and my family and things like that. So that was really cool to do. The second thing I learned, on a much less serious note, the NBA Cup is freaking worthless.
When does that start?
Huh?
When does that start?
When does it start? It's over, I think, on Tuesday. And
Okay.
I mean, you earn a trip to Vegas, which I guess is fine, but, then what?
The players earn a trip. I don't earn a trip. That's why I don't really care.
I understand Adam Silver wanted to try new things, and I'm not here to bash Adam Silver on a ton of things, and I get it. But here's the thing. Americans are slow to change. That's the truth. Big screen TVs, HD TVs, 4K, all the big level TV technologies exist across the world. Americans were always slow to new technology. So, and we are the same Americans that hate ties. And at the end of sporting contest, there has to be a winner for everything. Everything has to mean something. Everything has to tie into a postseason, which means the NBA Cup is freaking worthless because it doesn't matter. If you win the NBA Cup, do I lock in a playoff spot? Even if I go winless the rest of the season, do I lock in a playoff spot? No. Do I win? I don't know, the first half of the season? No. So what do I win? What do I get? What do I get? You get nothing.
You're NBA Cup champion, Double A.
You're an NBA Cup champion. The cup is not even freaking sponsored. You can't even get Pop-Tarts to sponsor the NBA Cup. What? How can you tell me this thing matters?
The Emirates, they got some Persian money coming in there. That's from the Saudis, I think, and all the Emirates stuff. They sponsor it. So, oh my God, the NBA took Saudi money over Pop-Tart money. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and they're trying to save that money so Paramount could take over Warner Brothers.
Dude.
Boy,
we're all whores. It just matters. We're all whores. It's just the difference is the price. That's really leave the money on the dresser when you're done. Do what you need to do.
Boy, do I got some thoughts on that, and time prohibits me from sharing those thoughts. But the Adam Silver, nice try with the NBA Cup. I would like to say that the Cavaliers were actually thankful that they were able to take almost a week off due to injuries, but they lost to the Charlotte Bobcats. So what do I know? Well, I'm sorry, the Hornets. So what do I know? But that's what I learned this week, that the NBA – it's on Prime Video too. So, yeah, you probably didn't see it. So that's what I learned this week on the NBA Cup.
All righty. I could take this – what's up?
I'm sorry, Rozycki. I was going to say I technically do have Prime Video just because my mom loves Prime.
I did watch Prime Video to watch Kyle Pitts Sr. put in that work.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. I could take this a few ways. I could take a nostalgic way here, and I was first off, Sid Vicious couldn't work for shit. But I'm looking at the NWA Top 10 for June of 1989, and I just I've realized one thing I've learned is that wrestling's gotten worse. We got Ricky Steamboat, Lex Luger, Sting, the Great Muta, Eddie Gilbert, Michael Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Dr. Death, and then ranking out the top 10, this little old dude, Terry Funk. Oh, I wish that I could be watching a wrestling promotion where Terry Funk was the bottom of the list on that one.
Hold on.
The other way I could take this. What's up?
What year did you say Terry Funk retired? Had his first retirement match?
81, the year before I was born. Yeah, it worked out real well. The other way I could take this is that I learned that John Cena, and this is the way to piss off Eli, John Cena is actually a horrible businessman. He was been working for free off and on now, but the better part of like 2 decades here. 650 unpaid appearances that he didn't receive any compensation for. And of course, I'm talking about the Make-A-Wish stuff. And if we go on Eli Moon's philosophy that doing anything without getting paid, like All-Star games or Olympics or training, is just completely screwy, then Eli has to lose a little respect for John Cena for not getting that back.
Rozycki, let me ask you this. Are you done with what you learned? I don't want to interrupt you while you're going.
Eli, I am doing this for one simple reason, just to irritate you. I'm just going to drop it right now.
And I respect
I think that is a preposterous idea, but I just wanted to see what your reaction would be to John Cena stupidly showing up 650 times without getting paid.
Look, dude, I love you, but here's the thing, man. I respect John Cena for not doing it. That is a great thing.
Yeah, he gave back to the sport.
That does not subtract from the fact that these NBA players, if they want more money for this All-Star game, they should get it.
Yeah, why give back to the sport that gave you your career? I don't understand. The real one, and I'm going to let Eli just sit there and stew because that's going to be the best reaction possible.
Dude, oh my God! All right, I'm going to mute myself.
No, actually, the real one, and to be serious, to kind of take it back to that second segment with Sherrone Moore here. We need more journalists that actually know what the hell they're doing. Because when I said I felt bad for Sherrone's wife and his daughters, part of what I feel bad for is any YouTuber, and we're YouTubers, but any blogger, any quote unquote reporter that considers themselves a journalist that was straight up making up shit. We wouldn't have had that video to intro the second segment if these guys actually knew things like checking sources and making sure that what they were printing was right. Because at this rate, whoever originated that story about the OnlyFans model, I don't know if she gives a damn or not. She has every reason in the world that she can sue these people. They went out with something that was discernibly false, that it sounds like she has actual records to back up. And whenever we're dealing with this kind of stuff, this was a head coaching firing that, yes, that did tear apart a family. It didn't kill anybody. It didn't cause any damage, in that way. But we see it happen all the time with the Brown shooting, or, just yesterday, or any other mass shooting, or any other of these stories, that you got people that are so desperate to be first, and are so desperate to have the inside scoop, and are so desperate to turn somebody else's misery into their profit, that they're willing to put out anything and everything to get attention. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. And the greatest thing about the internet is the fact that you can say whatever you want. The worst thing about the internet is that you can say whatever you want. It's a double-edged sword. And maybe, just maybe, and it's not going to happen. This is me getting on a soapbox, bitching about a problem that's never going to change, because there is money in being wrong in this country, apparently. But what we need to have happen is some old school accountability for this stuff. Pat McAfee saw it, hardcore over the summer when he was spreading that rumor about the co-ed that was supposedly banging a coach or banging, a friend's dad or something like that. She got lawyers involved and said, no, none of that's true. And Pat McAfee had to understand there's a difference between being a gas bag on the web. And I'm not knocking that. All three of us are web gas bags. There's a difference between that and considering yourself a reporter, considering yourself somebody that can provide information for people, and that should be a trusted source for news, not just sports. We are starving for trusted sources in news around the whole, society at large. And we need to have more reporters, because, okay, with this one, it was a family feeling like shit. It was a dad feeling like shit. It was a mistress feeling like shit. Now an OnlyFans model who may have interacted with the guy a few times. They need you. And that's why we didn't go into a lot of the scuttlebutt and the gossip on what, is being talked about with Sherrone Moore, is because we need to be responsible. We need to be careful of what comes out of our faces. And we need to understand that has consequences, whether we want it or not. And we are, as an industry, we are forgetting that principle, surprisingly enough, for the sake of making money, because it just seems like all throughout society, we don't care how we make it. We got to make the money. And we need to, as journalists, as broadcasters, as podcasters, whatever you want to call it, understand that we are responsible for the bile that we spit out of our face, or the stuff that we put on the web, or the stuff that we just put out into the world, be it audio, video, whatever. And the sooner we get that happening, the better society in general is going to be. But it's not going to happen. I know that. I'm, again, old man yelling at clouds on this one. I'm sorry, but we just need to be better journalists and better broadcasters.
I think that's spot on.
And John Cena's dumb.
What was the last point?
John Cena's dumb.
What were you going to say? What we've learned is that John Cena left a lot of money on the table. No,
I just want to let you guys know that
pick that little cancer patient up and shake him by the ankles and see what falls out,
John Cena is the only platinum artist to not record a second album.
Is that true?
You guys can fact check me. We don't have enough time to fact check me until next week, but I'm like 1,000% positive. I'm so confident.
Wow.
The only situation I'm trying to think is, like, was there an artist that had a hell of a debut and then an untimely death? That's the only thing that'd be the only reason why he wouldn't come out with another album.
Yeah, because usually they get signed, but Cena didn't really need any of that. He was with the WWE.
And you know what? He gave up the rap gimmick. By that point, he gave up the rap gimmick too.
Rob, he has some. I'm sorry, I was gonna say he has some bangers on that. I was listening to it before I went over for the main event, or for Saturday's main event. He's got some bangers on there. Like, don't think this is his theme song. He's got some bangers on there.
Doctor of Thugonomics, man, some good times. But Rob's right though about the scariest thing about, and the trickiest thing about all the stuff with Sherrone Moore in the story was just simply what was true.
Yeah.
At all. It was like, do we have verified sources? How many people in our society even know what verified sources even mean?
There's a lot of people who know what the word journalism is, but don't know what it truly is. And, and basically in a broad way, in 5 seconds, journalism is the practice of using sources and facts and provable information to call people on their shit. And you got to be researched. You got to be right. You got to be right. You got to be right.
Listen, as somebody who's had to buy that AP style book, that stuff is important. That stuff is very important for stuff like this. Because again, you never know. You never know, because the other thing, and the woman who was revealed allegedly that the side piece, like
blonde girl, yeah.
It wasn't even publicly announced at first. Somebody on social media did the deep dive, and it's like, oh, that's it. That's it. But actual journalism is actually going and asking her if she was the one.
I'm not saying none of us have a journalism degree. None of us went to journalism school. But that being said, we know if we had a breaking story, if we had a bombshell, players gay, players whatever, and we had that, I would insist as a cast member on this show that we have that down cold, that we make sure that can actually hold up in a court of law, because nowadays we are seeing it happen more and more than even when I was 20 years ago or whatever. People are getting much more litigious about this. You will get served. You will have that lawsuit in front of you. And at that rate, then we're playing for real money here. Then we're playing for real shit. There's a difference between just going off and popping off and being Skip Bayless or Nick Wright or Stephen A. Smith. I mean, Nick Wright makes a career out of kind of being right. And is very good at it. I'm not trying to knock anybody on that list, but there's a difference between that and being, Don Banata or Pablo Torre or any of these guys that can, crawl up your sphincter and tell you what you had for breakfast yesterday, because they just know that much. And the fact that that line is getting blurrier and blurrier every day doesn't really help anything out. And again, we're just talking about something stupid like sports. This also pertains when it comes to matters of national security and economy and life and death and stuff like that. So this is a problem that's not just sports.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I mean, obviously you guys know I'm a little unconventional with this. I'm not this is what I do in terms of the broadcasting world outside of my music. I'm more in the music world. That's where I live and that's where I thrive. But I will say from my experience, I don't want to be long-winded because we're 3.5 deep, in terms of the show. But I will say this, I worked UFC events. I've been media. I've been credentialed for the Cavs under AP Radio and, a bunch of other, credentials. I mean, so I've seen it, and I think, just being aware of it, seeing certain outlets get in. And this isn't a knock on any certain outlet, but just seeing random, just to be real, the websites I was sometimes getting in on for the stage of where they were as a website, the credibility, we shouldn't have probably been getting into some of the events we were getting into. But that's what it comes down to too, is not blaming the organizations and stuff like that, but also, yes, in a way, having the leagues and stuff do research on who you're letting in to come, on a sports level. Because I know we're talking but at least on a sports level, looking at who you're allowing to come in and get that access, because that is access that not everybody should be granted. And that's my only thing.
It's up to the person with that access to treat that access with respect.
Yes, I agree. It's both sides. It's both sides. But you get the right people in the journalists and the people that went to school, or maybe didn't go to school. We went. We did an unconventional route to get to where we're at. But we have learned the game, and doing that research on the organization side and stuff, I think would also help limit how many people they have to be dang, how did we get this random outlet in? Because a lot of people, and I'm just going to say it from an unconventional media member, a lot of people are just in there to take a picture of their media pass and a few pictures of the event and then go home. So we need to start getting the people that actually want to do this. It's with anything in life. You have to be passionate about what you want to do. There are great reporters out there, but there's also the people that are posting for Instagram and the clout.
Well, and and that's a product of technology, and I don't want to knock it because that's what helps us out too.
Right.
If you go back 30 years ago, the list of people who had the resources to do anything with that kind of access, that had a platform to use it, that had the wherewithal to use the access to report information, that was a very small group. Just like the idea of doing a 3-hour-long sports, TV show was completely out of the realm of possibility 20 years ago. But now we have just done that, and we have been doing that now for week after week after week. So the idea that more people can do it, you are going to get, just by law of large numbers, some dumb people in there that don't know what they're doing, that don't respect what they're doing, that don't respect the people that came before them and that will come after them. And we are getting a situation where it is being, we are using, we are not having any responsibility with what we're doing. We're just putting stuff out in the world and moving on with our day. Again, back in olden days, you had to make sure that shit was right. The reason why that Weber can do whatever they want to do that's under an assumed name online, because there's no accountability. There's nobody to sue. There's nobody to go after. That's why the New York Times or the Washington Post or CNN, ABC, CBS, whoever, they have a legal department that they run all this shit through. Right. That they make sure that their asses are covered once it gets out into the world. And we just need to have some more real world consequences, I guess, with something like that. Either that or, to your point, Eli, restrict a little bit on who does get in and restrict a little bit, because these events want reporters there. They want as many eyes on it and as many influences as possible on it, like a UFC or anything like that.
Well, the local reporters are big with that too. I mean, and the Michigan story is big. When the stuff with Jerry Sandusky happened in Penn State, it was the local school newspaper in Penn State that was actually breaking major stories, getting student perspective, getting all the details of what was going on in the school, on campus, the meetings, all that stuff. It was the local school paper. So to your guys' point about getting actual journalists in there without any rooting interest other than getting the story, you got young journalists who want to do that. They did it with Penn State, with that story.
With some teachers that wanted them to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And I think, don't be surprised as we cover more of this Sherrone Moore story, that the local papers in Ann Arbor, whether it's from the school or from the community, they're going to be the ones that's cracking the major stories about what's going on with the trial, potential trial, or anything of sorts. There might be more stuff coming out, and they're going to be the ones with the connections to actually break those stories.
Yeah, and we just got to be able to be in a situation that we can trust the information coming out, because, again, we glossed over a lot of the Sherrone Moore story because, quite honestly, we couldn't prove any of it.
Yeah.
There's been nothing confirmed. I said that he was arrested. I said that he spent the night in jail. I said that he lost his job. And that was pretty much the facts. And there was nothing more that I was really able to be comfortable enough with confirming. And again, we're a relatively, and we want to be bigger, but we're still a relatively small operation here. The likelihood of me pissing off somebody with misinformation is pretty low. Imagine if it is an ESPN. Imagine if it is a Yahoo Sports or Barstool or anything like that. I understand you look at Barstool and you see a fly by the seat of your pants operation with Portnoy and everybody over there. But rest assured, when those cameras are off, I'm sure those guys are handling everything as professionally as possible when it comes down to being right and slander and libel and all that crap. But anybody else got anything past needing more journalists, a main event semifinal, and John Cena being done?
No, I mean, I think next week's going to be a big week with the college football playoff. Can't wait to see James Madison football bell. But that's going to be.
I hope they win a game. I hope one of these power.
They got Oregon, and then Tulane has Ole Miss.
Yep.
And that will be a story because that will be the first game without Lane Kiffin. With that,
he'll still get a bonus if they win that game, which is amazing.
Right. So we'll have some coverage of that. Plus, actually, Saturday will be an interesting sports day. Unlike yesterday, where nothing other than John Cena happened, this upcoming in Army Navy, this upcoming Saturday on ESPN and TNT, you have the college football playoff. Meanwhile, on Fox Sports, you got Bears Packers in front of a national audience. So it's going to be interesting to see, who's going to watch which product. And then from the Browns standpoint, they got the Bills.
Double A. How are you gonna fit in AEW Collision on that jam-packed Saturday?
Rob, take us home. Kind of fuck was that?
Yeah. The same way I fit in the second half of the Browns game after they were down by 2 scores. We're just going to ignore and play Madden. Yes, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. If you have been joining us for the last 3 hours and 40 some odd minutes, thank you for staying with us the whole way. If you joined in halfway through, thank you for letting us entertain you and inform you and at least just occupy some random noise in the room for a few hours. But again, thank you for participating in the show. Everybody here truly likes the attention, the fans, the interaction, everything that goes along with this show. Double A, what?
Check your phone. Check your phone right now.
Check my phone right now.
Yeah, right now.
Speaking of professional actions when we're broadcasting, yes, I'll check the phone right now. Let's see. Listen, it's Sting? What are we doing with Sting here? Oh, wait, it's just his son. Oh, are we talking AEW stuff?
Yeah, man. I figured I'd get him in the zone since he told me to watch Collision.
Okay, well, at least we brought up somebody older than Phillip Rivers today. Okay. For
everybody watch James
here,
Madison football. I ain't watching no Collision. James Madison football next Saturday.
No, I'm not on the air next Saturday too, so I'm not doing a damn thing with sports. But for everybody here in, I was going to say in studio, but for everybody here in our remote studios, for Double A Anthony Alford, for Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. Again, thank you for sticking around with us for the last 3+ hours. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. You can hit us up at the Inside Edge Net on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, Facebook. Find us wherever you find your podcasts. Again, this is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. For everybody here in studio, I am Rob Rozycki. We'll see you next week.